Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Spar&Brawl. I hope you're having a decent day. As always, I'm joined by my co-host Sam, and we're back with another episode of the Progressive World podcast. So I'm just going to give a quick rundown of today's show with timestamps included down below so you can jump to your favorite segment. So we're going to start again with another video on Kyle Rittenhouse. I think this might be the last one perhaps, but the conversation continues. There have been some developments. People like Adolph Reed got a chance to share their take on useful idiots. And for instance, the University of ASU, some of the students are protesting Kyle Rittenhouse taking some courses there. So we're going to talk about all that. Then again, there are discussions, talks about whether Biden should run again. If he doesn't, who should run? There's this poll that The Hill shared and some other videos that were made, which we'll discuss. Then we have two Brianna videos, which, I mean, we're going to do our best to try to tell you guys what they're about, but it's kind of hard thing to do, but we'll discuss them. They're the latest two videos that she made. And then after that, to wrap up our Progressive World online segment, we have a video from Kyle Kulinski. And, he talks about how we shouldn't lose faith in politics and what can be done. Then we're going to switch to our geopolitical briefs. So for that, I'm just going to throw it to you, Sam, to give a quick overview.
Sure, yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about Kam here doesn't know the details of this story, so I'm going to be a bit vague here, but we're going to talk about Iran a bit, some interesting news regarding former Afghanistan officials, and some general stuff about European countries, UK, that type of thing. So it's going to be I hope it's going to be an interesting one. Oh, and it's going to be a interesting news from Middle East, let's say.
Okay,
somewhere in Middle East.
Okay, great. Can't wait to find out about all that. And then we're going to do a progressive press segment where I think Sam has one or two articles by The Atlantic that talk about Russiagate. Then I have this article that I found is on Lego. It's kind of funny. I guess the headline is that their profits were so high that they've given 3 extra days of holidays to its workers. But there are a few other funny things in there. I think Sam has a story to share with that as well. And then finally, we have an article by that was published in Jacobin, which I think Sam can also, again, just quickly say what it's about.
Oh, sure. Yeah, well, it's a really good article about, I think, about the effects of capitalism on the whole society, on the society as a whole. And in it discusses another article by Guardian, and it's referencing one of my favorite shows, let's just say, at the moment, which hopefully we'll discuss. And maybe I might finally be able to convert you to watching it, like force you, basically.
Okay, great. And yeah, and so we're going to use that to also wrap up this podcast with just a nice little chat about what we watched this week and what we're looking forward to watch next week. And yeah, we won't have any progressive tweets this time. I couldn't find anything too interesting. Although, Sam, there was that one video I sent you where that congresswoman was making the most horrible jokes about Ilhan Omar, but people they've all
we should
seen
talk
that.
about that at the end.
Yeah, so we can talk about that at the end.
Was that? Oh, yeah, because it had a tweet like I watched the video.
Yeah, it was
but
attached
the video
to
was
tweet.
Included. Yeah.
But otherwise, we don't have any other tweets. But okay, with that out of the way, please like and subscribe if you want to, and you've been watching us for a while. As I've mentioned a few times, half of our regular subscribers aren't subscribed. So if you're one of them, please continue doing so. But all right,
half of our regulars, watchers,
viewers. Sorry, what did I say?
Viewers,
yeah, my bad. Yeah, half of our regular viewers are not subscribed. So please consider subscribing. Okay, Sam, with that out of the way, let's start with our first story. Viewers, with our first video that's on Kyle Rittenhouse. So everybody knows what's happened with him, and we even made a video since the verdicts come out. So we're not going to go over all that again. Let's just mention kind of the videos that we're going to be talking about. So I think one of the main ones that we'll be talking about is Useful Idiots with Adolph Reed. That's one of them. Then the Young Turks video. I mean, this is a smaller one, but we'll come to that, where ASU students say that Rittenhouse is not welcome on campus. Joe Rogan had a small video where he kind of shared his take on what happened. And I think that's it. Any other specific videos that we should mention that we're going to be discussing?
No, I don't. Maybe, I mean, the Hill also covered the same grounds, but that goes without saying, I suppose, because they cover everything and anything that is going on in the world.
Yeah.
No, in the Washington side. But no, yeah, that's it. Where do you want to? Shall we start with?
I think we should try to start with the most substantial one, so to speak. I think,
Sure.
which would be probably Adolph Reed. So why don't you say kind of what was his main points? Because I think he spoke about it. Him and Matt Taibbi and Katie Halper had a decent back and forth for about 30 minutes. And
oh yeah, it was.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh
no, I was just
sorry,
gonna say I was just gonna say Matt Taibbi did object to one or two things that Adolph Reed said, but I don't remember anything being too serious. But perhaps you thought otherwise.
No, I mean, I highly, again, as always, urge everybody to subscribe to their Substack and all that, because it was fantastic interview, and the extended one was really good because like, I personally think a lot of people, including ourselves, by the way, are not in a position to challenge certain people, but Matt Taibbi is, because he's a prolific writer and all that. So yeah, the back and forth was really good, I thought. And in the extended interview, it was the most substantial, in my view, it was the most substantial discussion I've seen regarding the issue online. And it was really good. And I think Adolph Reed was pointing out that, like, it was, the main issue was the fact that it's a law and order issue, really, that it was like, why should a kid be able to carry guns? And he compared it to Dylan Roof, who was a far more he was actually, I think, a white supremacist, or at least he claimed to be white supremacist, or something like that. So it was a really good discussion. I really enjoyed it. What stood out to you?
Yeah, no, me too. I mean, the main point that I got is that he also came back that, it's more like of a gun violence issues. If he didn't have a gun, none of this would have happened. And he wasn't buying too many of the other arguments. Yeah, I think that was kind of the main takeaway I had.
Well, the main point of contention in their discussion, that I said, like, Matt Taibbi has a clout that he can push back, was that when he said, he compared him with a Dylan Roof, he said that, well, when you compare him to him, he's a white supremacist. And, or maybe even he said that Kyle Rittenhouse is white, potentially is a racist or whatever. And Mr. Reed said that, well, what, like, yeah, okay, maybe, like, okay, maybe I said it, but whatever, it doesn't matter. And even with Dylan Roof, I wouldn't even say he's a proper white supremacist. Like, these are people who are basically emotionally immature people, and like, they live in a land that is borderline fantasy land, or they're on the board, like, they can't tell the difference between reality and fantasy. And again, he says that I know a lot of people who are my colleagues that are like that. And he says that's the, like, when you have a society like that, when you have so many of these people. And he says, of course, like, when you don't really have a systematic or a structural thinking, like, okay, at the moment you might be a white supremacist, but at another moment you might not be white. So it just doesn't matter what, like, they're not anything. Like, I don't think Kyle Rittenhouse is anything. Like, I mean, that's not what he says. That's my impression of what he said, and impression that I agree with. That I just don't think at 17 you're anything, really. You're just a reaction to environment. So, and in some cases until you die, pretty much. So yeah, I thought it was a very substantive take, which I agree with, and I felt Matt Taibbi, like it was great in discussion because like two people push back each other to get to a more refined position. So again, subscribe to their thing. It's really worth the money.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, he mainly spoke about gun control from what I really recall, and he also spoke about, you know, a kind of misinterpretation of the Second Amendment that is going on. Second Amendment is the gun one, right? I always get these confused.
Yeah. First one is a speech.
But yeah, second one is gun. But again, he didn't mean that means that his case should have been judged in any other way. He was just saying, in general, in American society, starting with the Supreme Court, I believe there's just been this understanding of the Second Amendment, which I think he would argue is even different than what it was originally meant.
I mean, it like if anybody has, it does say well-regulated militia, but you know nobody wants to talk about that part of the Second Amendment.
Yeah,
you know that it's like I mean, anyways. I must say though, some people were writing that, you know, I was seeing some like the comment section of some of these videos that, you know, yeah, like freedom and, you know, like people don't it's just so funny. But like, I don't understand how, I don't know what these, like, I don't understand how having a gun gives you more freedom than not having a gun necessarily.
man.
But,
I mean, I think this might touch on a bad faith video, but the word freedom and stuff, I mean, in the US, the word freedom is just used whenever, whatever you want. You know, I mean, that lady said, we'll talk about bad faith. She's like, you know, the US was built on freedom and like, yeah, on freedom.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I don't quite understand what that even means. I don't even need to point out that like women couldn't vote, or like Native Americans were murdered. You don't even need to go there. Like you don't even need to have these things. I just don't understand what that means. It was built on freedom. Like, but you know, there's a few buzzwords in the US you can just throw as you wish, pretty much.
In global, I would say global English speaking word, because freedom is, yeah, I would say, yeah, or just to clarify though, or unfreedom. Like, you know, if somebody said no, US was solely founded on, I mean, like academically speaking, you can say settler colonialism or liberalism if you mean freedom as in good, like, but just anyway, it's funny, but yeah, anyways, but yeah, it's just the gun idea. I would say if I lived in a country, by the way, that like was in the US with the gun freedom thing, I would personally definitely own a gun because other people have it, but I would much rather live in a country where government regulates and doesn't allow. Like, I don't see what's the point of government. Everybody's like running around. Anyway, it's good.
Yeah, and I mean, I would argue that gun would probably not keep you any safe anyway. Because I mean, I can't even imagine this context that they're used in. But yeah,
I would say in a country where everybody has a gun, it's better to have a gun. Because I would, and if you point out to the data that you're more likely to
be killed they didn't want to go there because it's.
I would say that data is skewed by idiots. So, you know, most of the gun owners are, you know, not the sharpest knives. So, you know, like,
like any other part of society.
Any property, any other property owner. So,
yeah. And then, so that's Adolph Reed. I mean, on this issue of Kyle Rittenhouse, I don't know if there's much else really that he said or you want to elaborate on.
Oh no, but they did, you might find this interesting, but they did talk about basketball at the very end of their extended interview.
Okay, no, I didn't see
and and it was great because well, I hate sports of all kind, but like the way they talk about it, I had no idea like how NBA changed from like basketball, actually, like they argue, changed from being a team sport to a more individual and sort of a star-based sport, following like Michael Jordan and all that. And it was really interesting because it's so funny because it's a topic that I'm not interested at all in. But these two people managed to, like, because I like the way they talk about it. I was like, Jesus, this is fascinating. Yeah, because I thought at first they're gonna be, who won the latest season or whatever. But it was fascinating. Yeah, it was great.
No, that's very
like
interesting. And that
it made me even want to watch a documentary about Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, which is
no, those guys are interesting characters. Yeah. I mean, basketball, I mean, I've never thought of this. Basketball is like a very individual like star-led sport in a way. I always thought about this, but I thought it also has to do a lot with the impact that one person can have on a game, because there's only like 5 of you on a team, and just one good person does dominate like crazy in basketball. Whereas in football and other team sports, it's a bit harder because there's so many of you.
I wonder if it's to do with like in the indoor football thing that is big in Iran and stuff. Maybe that's different. But I would say they literally talk about what you said, and they kind of say it's something that happened at the end of 80s, and then with Michael Jordan. And for Adolf Reed does point out that when I was like watching basketball in 80s and stuff, we were like 5 guys or whatever, like at the weekends. But then it did became because of the stars, and apparently there was this whole marketing thing that they pitted like working class white people against yuppie black people, sort of up and coming young professional black people. So again, it's a 10-minute discussion, by the way, but it's so fast. I kind of wish they did a whole special about that. And I'm not remotely interested, I think, as you can testify, in basketball especially, but most like professional sports.
Okay, but all right, good stuff. I'll probably go back and listen to this. I'm gonna leave the ASU students to the end, but Joe Rogan. So Joe Rogan, we watched this 5-minute clip. I mean, he kind of rehashes what happened. Any particular takeaways there?
No, I just send that to you as a thing that, like, I think he's more self-aware than you give him credit for. Like, because I think a lot of times he entertains a lot of people who are not, but like when he was describing this case, you can definitely see his outlook. And then that's why I say I think he's joking when he says, for example, America is the best or whatever. I don't know, did you get my, like, that was why I shared that video with you.
Okay, see, I didn't really know that was the reason. Yeah, I found it to be, it was a little bit nuanced in that sense, the way he was talking about. So I can see his guest, who is that like relatively famous actor. He said,
is he actor?
That guy's not an actor.
I thought he was a military guy. I don't know who that is. Well, I thought he was one of those.
Okay, so if you don't know who he is, then he's not
operator guys.
Okay, so if you don't know who he is, then he's definitely not an actor. That wouldn't make sense.
That would be unlikely that there's an actor. I don't know.
Yeah, but I just want, but like, are we?
I'll just Google him. No. So you give your take. I'll Google.
No, he was just saying like he just said one thing that I was like, yeah, okay, it's not that crazy. It's not gonna happen. He's like, they shouldn't have put out the verdict on Friday. Now people are gonna be like sitting at home on the weekend, and they might go out and riot and shit. I was like,
Jesus. No, that's why actually the guy was far more alarmist about it than, and in the beginning the guy was like the left or something, and then what's his name? Joe Rogan was like, Joe Rogan. Oh, that's the thing it's been so long, I forgot. Joe Rogan gave credit to Anna Kasparian. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Okay, you're right. So John Willink, he's an American author, podcaster, and retired U.S. Navy officer.
I knew he was the operator. I knew he just had that operator. He had a very, I must say, he seemed like the nicest operator, but they have the same sort of vibe in the way they sit and the way they, man, it's a dangerous situation.
Operator
Friday
as in
night,
what?
Oh, as in like they are former military people that used to probably murder. Murder Muslims, or whatever, like obstacle was on the way to, trade drugs. I don't know, or contraband.
Yeah. I see. Okay, yeah. So go ahead. I mean, we've put that out of the way.
Oh yeah,
So
but
yeah,
he seemed like the nicest one though, I must say. He seemed like, but I love the way they all talk about situations and situations that could get out of hand. And man, and I don't know if you noticed, but in the Muslim world, Thursday nights, if you put news out there, Friday's a weekend, and then they want to go do the Friday prayer. I don't know, man. It's just like the level of analysis, and it's based, and they have the highland when they pray, but then they kneel.
Yeah. I'm
They are
actually
so
looking at
intense.
and I'm
Yeah,
actually
go ahead.
looking at what I had written to you here. And yeah, he says the kind of the mixing, one thing I didn't really like is the kind of mixing of mainstream media and like left
Ah,
it
yeah,
really
yeah,
pisses me off when like progressives and Democrats, they kind of all like mixed in together. The Brianna guest was also doing the same thing over and over again. But yeah, this guy made Joe Rogan give more nuanced answer. And yeah, he also gave credit to Anna Kasparian for going back. And I mean, she did that as soon as the trial started to pick up momentum. She did that. And I've actually seen people in the comment section, I think even in our comment section, but also on her videos, being like, oh, Anna's seeing like the light at the end of the
Yeah.
tunnel and that kind of stuff.
And our discussion about the next video might actually be a good. Actually, that's very good, like connective tissue there. But I just wanted to add. Do you remember the end of the Joe Rogan video though? That Joe Rogan, like, he goes, a lot of people I think saw this after a while. They saw
Yeah.
that it was not as racially related and all that. And again, the guy was like, man, I wish I could share your optimism.
Yeah.
You don't know. This could lead to.
Yeah, he was so skeptical. Yeah, he lived in one of these
Just
paranoid worlds a little bit.
Well, yeah, that's
Yeah,
the thing. Like, but not enough to be completely mad. He was just
yeah,
a concerned
yeah.
old, like, yeah, man, I don't know this good.
Hold on to the verdict until Monday or something. People have nothing to do. Yeah, there was a
You
bit of
need to, you need
yeah.
to push this information down. They just had a couple of Red Bulls in them. You don't want to tell them.
Yeah, and he's right. I mean, there were a few people protesting outside the courthouse and all that, but I think a bit of his thinking
No,
was, yeah,
protest is
exactly.
okay.
Yeah, exactly. But so, I mean, there was some incy bit of ground in reality, but yeah, the rest was driven with kind of non-existent like fear. But
No,
now that, go ahead.
just to be fair, because of the whole gun thing we
Yeah.
talked about, I would be somewhat fearful too. But the way they put it is just, it seems they give way too much attention to this stuff sometimes. It
Yeah.
feels, some people. Yeah. Well,
And
no, it's just good fun, hopefully.
And you mentioned the end of the Joe Rogan video. I'd actually written something else about the end of the Joe Rogan video, because you know how he the guy, what's his name, Joko Willing says, yeah, I'm not too sure. Just like you said, if everybody sees it this way and it's not about race and stuff. And Joe says, well, actually tonight I have dinner with my wife and some of her friends, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna be some of them. I can just imagine him dreading this so much, like having to go have dinner with his wife's friends and this kind of stuff. Yeah. But yeah, because, I mean, I don't even care. I don't even like. I don't even care anymore. Like, honestly, like when I first became like politicized and stuff, every like party and stuff I would go, I would have like political conversation and stuff like that. But nowadays it's so easy, unless really something pisses me off or I really find fun to talk about. I can so like sit there and just listen to people talk bullshit and just wait until the conversation moves to so what Joe Rogan said, he said, I'm gonna have to take them to the case and explain and some stuff. I don't do that much anymore.
Sure, no, I don't think that's what he meant though. Again, like this is, I think he like,
I don't understand,
in his
Joe.
Position. I'm like Joe. I'm like that guy who was CIA understander. I'm Joe Rogan under. Let me tell you, Kamir, what Rogan. No, I think like in his position, I thought that's what he meant. That they're gonna be like, oh, Joe, we heard on like this thingy that you said that like you said that you are basically a racist. This like, and then he's gonna be face. No, that's not what I said. I thought that's what he meant.
Maybe, yeah.
But yeah, maybe you're right though. Maybe he meant this because with us, obviously we are nobodies. So nobody is gonna. they just tell us, like, yeah, I you realize after a while you just have to listen and
Yeah.
just like don't challenge, just
Most of
let
the
them,
time, yeah.
just keep your head down and take it. And then, and it's over as quickly as possible. And and yeah, but with him it might be that I would imagine people, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
because he's
'Cause
famous.
you're right. He might be the only podcaster where like people like friends who have nothing to do with the subject would actually listen to him, because I've heard so many times like biggest podcasters like in sports and stuff, like there's these two that I always listen to and they like bring up their wives and shit and they're like, yeah, my family this and that, but they're like, there's no chance in hell I beg them to listen to like 10 minutes of it, they won't even listen. So Joe Rogan might be the only person where like his wife's friends will
Now,
actually
yeah,
listen. But even on bigger ones, like
definitely, man.
even if we had
Oh,
100 times the size of audience we have right now, I think I could still come and talk shit about everyone and
I
anyone that I know and they wouldn't watch.
oh man, I like the most successful like lifting pod, like I was listening to what was it, I think it was Chapo, one of them made the joke that, yeah, I still go to my like whenever I go to my family's house, my grandma asks me if I make any money. Like there is no way that like, like but because he like Joe Rogan discusses a lot of his sports and sort of, I would describe goop astrology bullshit type of shit. So he has some access to like female
Yeah.
markets and male markets that are more general. Like he discusses ancient mysteries
Mhm.
that like you know
Yeah.
what I mean, like no normal people shit.
Yeah, they might like it. Yeah. So if maybe Joe they'll listen to his stuff, but anybody else who has a podcast or anything, no matter how big you are, just come
I'm
out, say
trying to
whatever you
think.
want.
Can you think of any podcast that has a cross? So I can't even think of a thing like all the, yeah, exactly. Like I'm thinking of my movie
Yeah.
podcasts that I listen to. They're huge, but anybody outside, like anybody who's not even like super nerdy about movies, they wouldn't know them.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays it's like a thing you hear all the time, and it's so true. I mean, it's actually better because I feel like now you can be famous, enjoy the perks of being famous, but still be private. Because you can be like
Yeah,
super famous among a few 100,000 people almost, right? Like whatever your YouTube audience is,
they,
if you're a big
yeah.
channel, and they will know you, and you might see one of them per week, but you're gonna get paparazzis at your house, but you can still be famous, have a fan base, and still be
I
private, which
think,
is good.
yeah, Kevin Pollak, famous American comedian, and like he's a character actor. He writes about this sweet spot of being
Mm-hmm.
sort of,
Damn.
and he had a book about it. Anyways, but I would definitely, I agree. It's kind of like when I was a kid, and I still have this dream of becoming academically famous, which is I think nowadays a lot of people can become famous within their field. You're right,
Mm-hmm.
like sports, movies. But I'm trying to think of somebody like Joe Rogan who has a show that is like, Joe Rogan is the closest thing now to like Johnny Carson, Colbert. Like,
He's like
yeah,
probably one of the most. He's probably the one of the most famous entertainers who aren't like Hollywood, or like a
no,
huge
not
rock
even.
star, like that kind of stuff.
I don't even mean that. I mean somebody who is super famous, but he's also like has fans in every different
Mm-hmm.
camp
Okay,
in
yeah, I
a
see.
way.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I mean? Anyways, because like you have a couple of people, but anyways,
yeah.
it's so shall we move on to the Young
No, hold.
Turks?
Oh yeah, Young Turks.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. No,
again,
that's fair.
credit to Anna, and I think what
Very much credit to
Cenk
Anna.
said I disagree a bit, but then he didn't really disagree. So let me just say what the story is. Apparently, I don't know to what extent or how many students or the scope of this. I didn't quite catch it through their story. I didn't go read it. But apparently, Kyle Rittenhouse is taking some courses at ASU, and he's not even
Pre pre-graduate
pre-enroll.
courses.
Yeah, like pre-enrollment. Yeah, pre-enrollment. Like
Yeah,
he's just
pre-enrollment.
taking
Sorry.
these classes. He's not like doing an undergrad or anything. But I guess the idea is, I mean, he is an 18-year-old kid, that he's going to go to university there perhaps after. And people, yeah,
Nursing,
apparently
by the way.
nursing, yeah,
Yeah, it's
to study
nursing
nursing there.
classes.
nursing classes. But yeah, and then people are apparently, some students, I don't know the scale of it, again, they're protesting and they're saying that, Kyle Rittenhouse shouldn't be allowed to attend our university and all this, which they can say that as much as they want. They can say that for another 55 years. That's their right to say that if that's what they like. I mean, as long as the university doesn't act on that, which would be a pretty crazy thing, not allowing someone to pursue their education, I feel. But yeah, and Anna also kind of had the same take as I'm having right now, which is, yeah, those students can do whatever they want. I find it quite ridiculous. But yeah, what was your take when you heard it?
Oh yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. Like a student shouldn't be allowed to. First of all, like on a point of principle, a student shouldn't be allowed to. Like it's. I don't like admission. Let's say. This is by again Amber Lee Frost, one of the Trap House co-hosts, talks about this. A lot of people on the left have this complete misconception that community is this a progressive force. Community is a reactionary force. And usually the larger the community, the better it is for minorities, because they're small. Just communities are usually very reactionary, and I think university campuses are showing that. And yeah, I just like fuck off. So on point of principle, fuck off. On the point of like, does like on another point of principle, somebody who has been acquitted by a judicial system, you wanna reform the judicial system, go protest that, go
Yeah,
do something about that. You can't pick individual cases. So yeah, I
100%.
think it's wholly just idiotic and shows this. Yeah, it's just we are like neurotic idiots who go to colleges these days are just Anyway,
Yeah.
we
And
are
again, I
scared.
wanted to keep on saying what I don't know what the scale of this is. In the story, they did mention like this or that association, but that's the thing too. I don't want to blow it out of the way and blow it out of the water,
Oh
make it
yeah,
seem like
sure.
all the students there were
I
thinking
would
this way and
imagine.
stuff. I think
I would
that's unfair
imagine.
too.
Yeah, I would imagine 70% of students probably don't care.
Yeah, okay.
I
I thought
would
you were gonna say
imagine.
the
Like
other way
most.
around. Yeah.
Oh no, most is like when I was at university, I would say above 80%, and I was at a very super left wing university, and I would say above 80% didn't care about anything really,
Yeah.
but like drinking and having fun.
Yeah.
So it's just, but yeah, it was a
Yeah.
very. I was the reason what I kind of wanted to give, I was reading the comments you were saying on that video, or was it under one of our videos? I don't know, but it was like, yes, she's become like Jen keeps comparing this guy with OJ Simpson.
Yeah.
And
True. I
do you
forgot.
know about OJ
Yeah,
Simpson case?
I've seen
Oh,
the
the
movie,
TV
yeah. TV shows
not
slash
the
documentary.
documentary.
Oh, TV shows, yeah.
Although that would have been like, do you know, like first of all, the level of violence in that crime, the level of like it was just single individual related to him. It's a gruesome fucking murder. There was that she was a mother, like, and like I think it matters. It's different from somebody who like provoked or unprovoked attacks you, or is a like he keeps comparing them. And by the way, I don't think even Kyle Rittenhouse is a nice person. I just said like my views very much align with Adolf Fritz's. I think he's just a troubled child. But he just keeps comparing it with O.J. Simpson,
Yeah,
a man
why?
who in his 40s committed one of the most gruesome crimes, and he was one of the worst tried. The juries were a bunch of fucking, pretty much, it seemed like the stupidest people on earth. Yeah, he's just such a dick.
And I mean, the
Really, I'm
cases are
sorry,
so
but
different. I mean, and even
yeah,
if I wanted
exactly.
to
That was
be
a very
nice to him,
personal.
and yeah, even I mean, like I don't understand like the linking of these two cases.
The link is that, well, he thinks in both cases the jury made
Yeah.
the wrong call, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean,
Or I don't know if he thinks in the second one jury made the wrong call, because uh, I don't know. He thinks, I suppose, some of the laws are insufficient. I don't know.
yeah. And in the next, and like the video of TYT that we discussed from last week, which had John Irola in it and Cenk Anna wasn't in it
That's
again.
why I don't exactly know
Yeah.
what is his position on Kyle Rittenhouse's position.
Yeah. But I think that's it anyway. I mean, the ASU students thing kind of, I mean, it kind of pissed me off. If I was there, I would never get involved because I couldn't care less. But I would tell those kids to go fuck themselves. I kind of was like,
yeah.
I mean,
look.
And someone also made the point that it's not even, I mean, even this wouldn't make an excuse, but where he's going with his campus, it's not somewhere where you can take your gun and anything.
Or
so
open and carry.
Yeah, it's not even one of those areas. And even if it was that, even then, I mean, it's crazy again, that it is, but
just again, forget about the merits of the argument. It's such a reactionary way of reacting, of acting, because it's instead of, okay, we have a gun problem, we have a violence problem, we have a policing problem, we have any of these sort of systematic, no, we have to ban this guy. It's like witch hunts, you know, it's ridiculous in my view.
Yeah, where is it going to get you? I mean, this guy's high profile, so you know about that. Otherwise, I'm sure there are a shitload of far more quote unquote dangerous people roaming around campus.
No, a lot of people have commit acts of violence in primary school, high school, secondary schools, bully people, and then they grow up and they change and they become like normal human. But are we going to ban them from further education? And by the way, if that happens to an extent that is really harmful to somebody, for example, somebody's pushed into the toilet or whatever, isn't the main problem the fact that the school doesn't have proper like ways to it's just anyways
I mean, just with his too, I mean, at the end it was like a major, you know, society should have been in a position that where these kind of guns are not something that he could have found. So whatever he had in his mind, he would have gone there, and then that would have been and come back if he couldn't get his hands on it.
The state shouldn't allow this system to get to a point where riots are happening and all that. But I just wanted to highlight the fact that though, with all the criticisms, the comparison with O.J. Simpson, in my view, is just such a dickish move to do. Like anyway. It's just, that was the worst analogy ever.
I really don't get the link of it. But okay, Sam, next story that we have before we move on to bad faith is, again, people are wondering if Joe Biden should run again and should not and everything. And I mean, I'm not too intrigued by this conversation too much because I mean, I would think there's no way in hell they're going to do whatever they can to have Joe Biden run again. So, I mean, the conversation isn't as interesting to me.
Yeah, definitely. No, but I think, again, I'm going to be a Sam understander, right? So I'm going to, no, it's not so much about Joe Biden is going to run again, but I don't know if you followed the whole Kamala Harris Pete.
Yes, I heard about it a week or two ago. Back and forth and stuff.
So I mean, there was this whole thing that, you know, first there were these reports that Kamala Harris is going down in the polls and Pete Buttigieg is trying, you know, he's been given portfolios on popular stuff and blah blah blah, and then in Useful Idiots, Matt Taibbi and stuff, they discuss Jen. What's her name? The spokesperson for White House. Ms. Jen. Shit.
I forgot her name, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, she does that sort of like lawyer politician speeches that she doesn't. She says that the president plans to run, doesn't say will run or is running, because it's more assured. But I just want to make the point that you pretty much make, that I think it's way too soon, and it's a tempest in a teacup that, you know, just who cares at this point? Like, and it's going to be forgotten in 2 weeks because of how fast the news cycle is. I don't think Joe Biden is going to make it to the next 4 years, because from what I see every week, he seems to be getting worse. But I think if he's even barely alive, I would agree with Matt Taibbi that they try to run him
100%
again. But I would say I thought I thought he said he's gonna be a one-time president, but apparently he said that in 2016 that if he was gonna run, but not in 2020. So I mean, I assumed originally that he was gonna just be one term. But I mean, yeah. And by the way, yeah, like from now, like you send me the poll that showed that
exactly.
Michelle Obama. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm going to actually send you a screenshot of that poll because, okay, so I mean, the results of, let me just send you the screenshot right now on your phone.
No, I thought you might want to talk. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Because, yeah, I just wanted to mention, okay, let's look at the poll for a second, then I'll give my opinion. So the poll itself, I mean, isn't very interesting. At the bottom, it's written that the survey was conducted, and I'll put this on the screen, this graphic. The survey was conducted online within the US on the 18th and 19th of November among 900 registered voters. And I'm guessing that means Democrats, right? So, I mean, this poll itself isn't even very interesting. What you could say is that when you look at the people who are there, Kamala Harris, Michelle Obama, Bernie Sanders, AOC, I mean, besides Bernie Sanders and AOC, just a bunch of people who the Democrats have kind of tried running in different ways and weren't even that successful. So I think when you look at this list, the only thing it kind of makes you think of is like, they're going to run Biden no matter what. Because I mean, the Obama one is a joke, right? The Michelle Obama one is kind of like a joke. And
I don't know, man. I really, I mean,
but look at this list of lineup.
I find it so interesting. I am so happy that someone else is polling above Elizabeth Warren. That's yeah, fair. Gavin Newsom, I think, could be Gavin Newsom, which, by the way, recently went missing. I assume he's such a weird guy. He was married to some conservative person. Jesus, I forget. But Gavin Newsom is a dangerous sort of lizard. He's a literal, like he's like the Mitt Romney from the Democratic side.
Yeah.
And he's got that dead eyes, not dead eyes, robotic. I think he was created in a lab in 1990s by Bill Clinton. If I'm not, I think I'm right about it. But yeah, I think he's a dangerous fellow in a way. Pete Buttigieg is a dangerous, fellow. But yeah, I love the fact that also don't know is calling above everybody else,
and just a quarter of them who say that they'll vote for Kamala Harris. I mean, that makes me very suspicious of the people who were asked and all this. So I mean, I'm just putting aside what numbers they got, just the lineup. You're right. I mean, Pete Buttigieg is, in terms of getting elected, not who I would like or who a progressive would like, Pete Buttigieg is probably the most realistic person there, because Bernie, they won't let him. AOC is not even, I believe AOC is not 40 yet and won't be 40 in 4 years. So I don't think she's allowed to
40,
even run.
No. She's allowed. It's 35. It's not 40.
Oh, I thought it was 30. Oh, I thought it was 40. My bad.
Sorry. I mean, I don't know which one is. I think it's 35. I forget, but shit, I'm not even sure now. I forget. One of them is a myth. Yeah.
35.
But,
yeah.
Pete Buttigieg,
USA government
I would say,
must be at least 35 years old and have been a resident. Yeah, 35. I thought it was 40.
Yeah, I don't know why I doubted myself. I'm always right. But I would say no. In fact, though, first of all, I think the result is weird and puts Kamala Harris at 26% because it's Democratic voters, right? You said it's
no, they don't
Democrats.
say it. It just says registered, but I'm guessing it's registered Democrats. They just say registered voters. I would assume they went.
Okay.
It would be stupid if you asked registered Republicans. I mean,
all right. But I would say, Pete Buttigieg, in my view, has is the least charismatic and all that, but the media loves him the most. He's the one that they're gonna push. Gavin Newsom, then maybe if in this lineup, I would say what's his name? Andrew Yang, and even maybe Stacey Abrams. They have some level of people like Stacey Abrams, in many ways, Stacey Abrams could be what they want Kamala Harris to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's got the neoliberal stuff, but she's not as hated by minorities and everybody else. Like
Yeah.
every human who has lived. I'm a bit.
Yeah.
I like Kamala a bit more than most people.
Oh yeah, I know. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean,
leftists.
You can maybe be like, this person's a bit popular here and there, and like Stacey Abrams didn't participate in the previous primaries, so we don't even know that.
Do you remember
how she would
Stacey
do?
Abrams?
Yeah. She thought she was going to be vice president, right?
No, do you remember that interview when she finds out she's not good? It's so funny. It's the best. Biden, just come on, man. What do you...
But yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, if I was a Democrat consultant or whatever, I'd look at this list. I'll be like, listen, put these candidates aside. Let's just work on keeping this guy alive and forget about everything else.
just put just the whole next 4 years.
Because they did it once.
Fiction.
It worked. They got him the votes, unless he takes a big hit in the next year or two over economic issues and things like this, which we have to wait and see.
Yeah, to be fair, there are quite a lot of parallels with the first 2 years of Carter, so I wouldn't be surprised. But I would still say I think I would, if I had to bet, and I never bet more than $40, I would bet my $40 that he would probably pass away. Don't you think?
Old people stay alive sometimes.
Hanging on my fingernails today. I just see every time he comes on, it's just getting worse and worse. Though it's really, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's just gonna need a bit more energy this time. If there's no more pandemic,
they have to campaign,
and he has to even after the campaign. Okay, let's say there are no primaries and all that. It's just him. But then against Trump, he's gonna have to, I think this time he had 2 debates canceled, if I'm not mistaken. Like, things went his way, if I recall correctly. Well, they didn't do all the debates and things like that.
Yeah, I think debates didn't matter.
No, but I'm just saying performances, him going there and there. If
but campaigning does. Rallying does matter, I think. I mean, even if it doesn't matter for him, it would definitely matter for Trump if he runs. So, yeah, it would be great. It would be great if we just have one president who's going around the country giving sort of basically stand-up tours, mostly improv, not even like like the same set or anything. And then another president who does like weekly like broadcasts, and like every basically week has to be proven to be alive, like Mullah Omar in 2004 or something. Like no, there's the image of him with the newspaper.
Man, but I don't know. I've been impressed by his health 1 or 2 times. I mean, once he got elected and they were announcing him as elected, he did this jog where he ran. I don't know if you recall, but then he stopped because he's like, okay, there's quite a bit to go. But just that was impressive. He had a little boost.
I don't know, man. When you have that much drug pumped into you, like it's just
but physically he's also in decent shape, so I don't know, man. I think it's 50-50. Yeah, for his age and everything, he's walking around. You go see some 60-year-olds, they can barely walk, they're hunched over, they're all this. He's walking weight-wise and all this.
First of all,
I mean, he's really old.
No, man. Did you see him with the Pope? Pope is 5 years older. Did you see him next to Bernie? Bernie's 2 years older.
Man, actually, he's only 79.
Do you know what's the age difference between him and Mitt Romney?
10 years, 15 years. No way, stop it. Mitt Romney 74.
5, man.
Shit, so Joe Biden is not even old.
Joe Biden suddenly, during the last, between 2006 to 2020, Joe Biden's face just went from this lively old man to a basically Nosferatu vampire, and then mentally, like he just he like
No, you're right.
I
I
would
thought he
I
was
know what you mean.
85.
I've seen.
So he's not gonna die then. He's
It's just very
79.
strange. Yeah, it's
So
just
he's
so
gonna
weird
make
for.
it.
I don't think I don't know. It's just the brain for a ruling elite, especially because ruling elite, as we all know, they get to, I don't know, drink young people's blood or whatever they do to stay. Like Trump's been eating McDonald's for the last like 50 years, and he's still like, all the doctors are like, we have no idea how this like.
He doesn't drink
I
though.
don't know.
He doesn't drink. I feel like that's done him a world of wonder.
I think Joe Biden doesn't drink.
Yeah,
Joe Biden doesn't drink too. I don't get it. I really don't get how I think
Man,
the
but you're
Catholic
right.
guilt,
I thought he
just
was
the
in his
Catholic guilt
80s.
has destroyed. No, Bernie's older than him. Pope is older than him. Trump is like 1 year younger or like a couple of months younger. He's just, the Catholic guilt has just slowly crushed his soul into nothingness. It's so good.
My bad. I guess for a 79-year-old, he's a bit out of. Again, he's not in the worst shape ever. Like Mitt Romney, you're right. Mitt Romney is in tip-top shape if he's really 74. I didn't know.
To be fair, 74 or 5. Mitt Romney is a Mormon, so they don't drink coffee. They never have sex, I believe. Wow. They reproduce through what's the thing that cells do? Viruses.
Okay.
He's a Mormon, so it's like they made a deal with alien life force, so it's different.
All right, so I guess we shall see. But yeah, anything else?
Did you know that, by the way? Before, did you know that in Mormonism, if you're like a good person, you go to like your heaven, you get to rule your own planet. Did you know that?
Oh, not bad. No.
That's the heaven. Like I was seriously, like I read that and I was like, shit, that's not bad. If like I would, like if you're a good person and you die, you get to rule your own goddamn planet.
Not too bad.
If you're gonna
why
go,
the planet like, though? Does that go well with Christianity ideology? That means how many planets are there? Or I guess in heaven, it's like the heaven universe.
That's the thing, though.
Okay.
That's no. Like that's the thing, though. It's like they're trying to make heaven scientifically accurate. Like there are all these planets, and you get to rule them. Well, like if you get to. By the way, like not everybody who goes, like there are different grades of heaven, and if you're like awesome, great, like you get to rule that thing. Like you could become a bureaucrat if you're just a little bit awesome. Because a cabinet member, I don't know.
And ruling a planet, actually, I mean, you find that a good idea, but that seems like a lot of responsibility too. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, if you have to actually run the shit, if you get to do it Trump style, that's good. But if you have to actually do the thing.
Yeah, and I don't want to start from scratch. I mean, someone better have got it going, you know.
The infrastructure. I don't want to be, You don't want to be
the first guy to get
infrastructure and then dies just before the Taj Mahal is about to complete and gets to use the facilities.
Exactly. So I'd be willing to do that if there's already something going on like that. You can't even really fuck it up, you know. Things are already going in the right direction. You just reside over it.
Yeah, sure. I think if I were the Mormons, I would really lean on this whole planet thing in my marketing. I don't understand why they focus so much on the polygamy and the lack of coffee thingy. Or maybe that's their enemies. I don't know.
Maybe keep it exclusive. But truly, I need to revisit one or two things I said because, I mean, but Joe Biden, I honestly thought he was 85 or 6 or something. I mean, it's kind of stupid of me. 79 and stuff.
I mean, 6 years.
I'm just saying,
like I feel like they're like above 75. You could be anywhere from completely like dementia ridden to I've seen 90 years olds that are completely have all their capacities and everything. So I don't know. I think after 75, it's just that coin toss.
But Yeah, exactly. And Joe Biden, there are many sides to it. So there's his mental capacity, which is important, but also just as long as he can
And
physically
non-existent.
hold himself.
Yeah, I think
But
as
yeah,
long as, because I think to be fair, most people know that it doesn't matter who's the president. So as long as he can hold himself together, it's fine.
yeah.
Just physically.
All right, let's move on to our two bad fate videos. So, I mean, we're gonna try our best to tell you guys what happened in them, what were the main arguments in them. But believe if you haven't seen it, a lot of you have probably seen it, but you haven't. Believe us, it's kind of hard to say what was the main thesis. But actually, for the latest one, Sam, the one with go ahead.
I just wanted to give a disclaimer that everything, like the reason why we discuss the shows we discuss, every show we discuss, unless specifically mentioned like Young Turks, we actually like them, and we think it's worth, like, who gives a shit about what's on Fox News, right? Or CNN. So that's why we discuss these shows, like, you know, but it was so fun. Let's go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
these ones were fun, and they weren't, especially one of them wasn't the word. Anyway, we'll talk about them. But Sam, so look, actually, Brianna, I took this extract from her own little description that she puts, right? So maybe this is what the argument was about. So the first one that we're talking about is that she posts a video with Batia Ungur Sargon, Batia, and she's a deputy opinion editor of Newsweek and author of a provocative new book titled Bad News: How Woke Media is Undermining Democracy. And then I have a little extract to read it too, Sam. Yeah.
She also wrote for New York Times and was, I believe, editor of Jewish Chronicles, which is the largest Jewish news outlet. Exactly. One of the largest. Yeah, sorry.
No, the important information there. And then, yeah, so here's quote what Brianna had written in the little description section of the video. A self-described former woke, Batia is now skeptical of how left media culture that feels increasingly elite and distant from journalism working class roots. But while Brie and Batia agree on mainstream media's deficits, so here's the main disagreement apparently, they disagree on the extent to which wokeness itself is the problem. So this was the main thesis and argument, I guess, in the video as well. And some interesting ideas are exchanged in the video, but I mean, it's just...
this one? No,
yeah,
I don't
more
think so.
The other one, perhaps, huh?
I don't think any. Yeah, I mean, it was the whole interview was Brianna, like Greyjoy, Miss Joy, and then Miss, like, it was. I feel like.
Man, they're so hard to cover these videos because I don't even know what to say. Like, that's what I was telling you. Okay, people think exactly. We're here on to ramble, but we're not. It's really hard to say what it was about and give a proper thesis and break it down.
I mean, Miss Sargon was arguing that the woke culture. She's somebody who described herself as a leftist, specifically focusing on working class, so to speak. And she was saying that woke language is more alienating, and woke policies like, you know, and CRT or tweets by AOC, for example, referring to the fact that racism was a part of US immigration policy, that type of things are alienating the working class. And then Brianna was saying, you're, I think, exaggerating, and the right does that as much, if not more so, than the left. So that was the main point of argument. But then again, whenever like Brianna was saying anything, then she would go say, no, I didn't mean that by that. Yeah. I meant it the other way. And in that context, like in the context that AOC was tweeting that was referring to that. And then Bjorn Joy Gray was saying that, no, it wasn't referring to that. It was referring to this.
Yeah.
And like when there is no agreement on it, that's why, by the way, that's why that's maybe I'm a boring person. That's why I like goddamn academic articles and I don't like magazine articles or newspaper articles, because there is a discussion that they are following up on. Mm-hmm. That's the whole point of literature review, right?
Yeah.
That there is existing
100%.
discussion and we are contributing to it. based on these lines. And this felt just like, yeah, the whole interview, and the whole, I mean, she seems like a very genuinely nice person, and like a very pleasant lady, but it feels like she doesn't really have any substance to her thinking, and it's just like, it felt very, I don't know, it felt very like first year, like freshman discussions,
That's
political
funny that you said that, because I have a few. I mean, first, let's try to like do the most general thing, and then I'll go into my small kind of point. One is that, well, this isn't really a point, but wow, Brianna really read her book. I mean, you could tell that she read her book properly,
she had notes,
took notes, so tried to have as much as good conversation. I think the first thing is, what did she mean by woke? And she did describe what she meant by wokeness. So she was like, yeah, it doesn't, when you say that like racism is bad, I don't mean that's wokeness. When you say that, defund the police, even, she said, I don't see that as wokeness. So what did she characterize as wokeness exactly? I mean, I didn't write it down.
She gave a couple of examples, like the one I mentioned, that AOC regarding the immigration issue has tweeted that our immigration policy has always been founded on racism or something along those lines. 16, she talks about the fact that, I haven't read her book, so maybe like I'm commenting on the interview. Yeah. So apologies if her book is
on half
filled with references. Too. That's true. Yeah, it's partial. So yeah, apologies if her book is filled with references and stuff. But she talks about the 16, what's that, 16 something project?
The project, yeah. 1612 project or something, yeah.
Yeah, the one that talks about the fact that US history should be looked at as when the racism sort of policies began and all that. And she's actually, again, that's the thing with her. She's very positive about the original article that won the Pulitzer, but she's very negative on other stuff. She says the article is very moving and it's very blah and it's blah, but it's but the discussions that came out of it are examples of wokeism. And by the way, some like, that's the thing, like it's the typical bourgeois. That's why, again, she seems very well read. I've read her articles on Israel and Palestine. Very good writer. It just seems like very bourgeois, just take on, you know what I mean? Like,
although she would argue that she's trying not to be bourgeois, right? She's trying to move away from bourgeois takes.
Yeah, I know, but it was like this, the idea that, we shouldn't use the language that.
And she calls everything like, I mean, it gets so small. I mean, like, you did it. Yeah, I mean, there's like, okay, their disagreement is over, like, her main argument is like something to do with wokeness and that it's damaging. But yeah, I mean, everything was just so like, I mean, yeah, the university
the whole discussion is about, no, I'm not specifically talking about what you're saying. I'm talking about this specific case. So that's why, by the way, in the end, I hate woke. I hate cancel culture. I hate all these words, because unless you talk about a specific case, it leads to this type of discussion that is just... one thing that came out of it that I really enjoyed was Miss Joy, Brianna Greyjoy, saying that she like this bullshit leftist sometimes and right-wing sometimes narrative that some people like, there is like mining what a good job it was, going down in the mines, having your lungs charred, or, sweeping the streets and going through bins, and, the pride we drive for the work out of our hands. And she points out that she doesn't think, and I don't think anybody aspires or enjoys working with, let's say, feces.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, if I think if you do enjoy working in a mine, in most cases, it's a case of a Stockholm syndrome or something. I can't think of, any moment it could explode and we all die. Oh, what a fantastic pride I get from this. Yeah.
I mean, she was kind of leaning into non-stop. She was kind of leaning into like how everything about university is bad. And she really made like a
Oh
caricature out
yeah, I
of
forgot about
everything
all
with
that.
university, right? Any word or phrase, anything she didn't like, she would say that's kind of academic speaking or
Yeah,
something,
that's
although
true.
I don't really see it anything. And for her, every time the topic of university came out, she was like, not everybody wants to go become a philosopher. I mean, I don't know if she's been in a university recently, but nobody wants to become a philosopher. That's why their department has 3 people. There are a
About
lot
three
of
people,
other,
yeah.
there's a lot of other
And
things you study
about
and
there
do
are
at university. So
yeah, it's so funny because my experience at university, I did humanities, and it was like humanities and social sciences. The department is about like 50 people. The students number about 40. Like, it's just
yeah,
ridiculous. And then you have like finance and engineering, which is like about like 6,000 like people
yeah.
from all around the world. And yeah, yeah.
They're
And
conveniently left out of these arguments, I feel. Like the big bulk of people who are studying all these natural sciences, which are the main people at the
yeah,
university,
medicine.
they're kind of always left out of this conversation. And they make it, when it's a critique
Are
of
they? I don't
university,
know. I don't
but
know if
her
they are
critiques
the
of
bulk.
university was all about that, because Brianna said, everybody should have access to free university and stuff. And then she's like, well, Brianna, not everybody wants to become a philosopher and a podcaster.
Mm,
I don't know who
no,
said that, or I mean, they don't even
no,
teach podcasting at university yet. So
I'm sure they do. No,
yeah, in the
I
media
know they
school,
do.
yeah, I'm
Media,
exaggerating a bit.
but no, no, no. I don't know if they're. I agree 100% with you that they're always left out, but I don't know if they compromise the bulk of the university student. I don't know because I haven't looked at the numbers. If I had to guess, I would say for sure there was like I did
Especially
again
if you throw
humanities social.
economics and business with them too, which are, I know they're different,
That's
but there's a lot of people who study that stuff.
yeah, I definitely would say
No, my
business,
point is,
especially
so few people,
is with
philosophy get
engineering.
philosophy put it aside, right? There's literally a handful of people. And then if you take the other social sciences, they don't also constitute the whole body of the university. But
Psychology is like, I would say,
that's a
in my
bigger one,
experience,
yeah.
psychology tend to be the biggest one. But yeah, it was so fun. Like philosophy is literally like 6 people that are and everywhere. But yeah, in my
Yeah.
experience, but I don't know about the data. Did I would I don't know, but I would be interested into looking at how much of the engineering thought translates into people actually doing, actually putting
Pursuing those
like,
careers.
yeah, exactly. Like with medicine, it's usually almost 100%, I would imagine. But so yeah, it's
Yeah, and the
yeah, it
computer
was such a
sciences,
childish.
I mean, my whole point
Yeah,
is there's
computers. Yeah.
far more going on at universities than philosophy. And I
I
didn't put
mean,
this word in her
I,
mouth.
oh,
She's the one who used that example over and over again.
that's it. That's what I wanted to say. In social studies and humanities, there was literally like 5 reputable universities in the UK. Uh, I'm like looking at universities for my further education now. There's like 4 good ones in the Canada. You know what I mean? Like the idea that philosophy, like universities, is all. The one thing that maybe I'm wrong in US, from what I understand, in the first year or 2 years of your university, you have to do a lot of subjects that are not related to your topic.
You
Is that
typically
correct?
have electives. I mean, I'm talking in Canada about Canada. I'm sure the US
Canada
is
is more
similar,
similar to Canada,
maybe,
UK, it
but
seems.
I would assume now some people who've attended American universities can correct us. I don't think that more than, let's say you do 5 classes per semester. I think you have to typically take, I would assume, one that's not necessarily directly related to your major, which
You
once
have
again, I don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, I know that you shit on philosophy more than me. I'm not even shitting on philosophy. I mean, I think
no.
1 or 2 classes taken are not an issue. It's just this lady equated philosophy, university with philosophy. And I'm like, if there are such if there are such university and schools that these people are talking about, sign me up. That's the
Yeah,
first
me
thing.
too. To be honest. Yeah. Let's get in there.
They're learning CRT from grade 1. No wonder I'm a failure here.
Yeah,
They're learning
genuinely, I
Harvard
lived
law
with
stuff.
my nephew. Yeah. Like from kindergarten, guys. Have you heard of manufacturing
Yeah.
concern?
I just caught my 5-year-old with Marx's 3 volumes of Das Kapital.
Yeah, with a rolling from his mouth, just going with a see right mills, the power elite under his like. Yeah,
Is it?
but no, it's just I think. And by the way, I don't know. Like, I think this is. Sorry, do you have any more?
Um, I wrote down the dignity of labor, but that goes back to the labor thing, and it's kind of hard because I don't want to sound because this topic is hard without what she was saying. But yeah, I mean, she kind of made it seem like nobody who like works any kind of labor work. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but they don't want their kids to do anything different. There was kind of that assumption in it too, and like everybody going to university is bad, and we don't think that people do like manual work or things with their hands or just. And then again, it just became such a caricature, right? She wasn't even talking about electricians and plumbers and all these people who also have to go to a type of school. And everybody wrote in the comment section that when you say free university, doesn't mean that free bachelors in social sciences for everyone. It just means all these different routes that you could take, they should all pretty much be more or less publicly funded.
I mean, when I mean public university, I mean sociology masters and anthropology bachelors for everyone. I want everybody to talk about the roots of historical roots of Protestantism and all that. That's what I mean. That's just I don't need plumbers in my society.
Oh, and Sam, I wrote one more thing too. I wrote like she seems to be projecting a bit because she said this: people who go to college look down at others. And then she also says that if there's some really smart inner city kid, and I think she kept on saying Einstein, if there's like an Einstein in like inner city, go take him and put him to university. So I think she has she has like a.
Yeah. She said put it in Harvard, and I love that because Brianna Joy Gray immediately said, well, I think Harvard should be abolished because Harvard is just such a bad school. Like, forget about all, like, look at some of the graduates, George Bush. Anyways, so Harvard is, I mean, Yale, of course, monsters that end up, again, ruling the world, and I don't know what they do. They're ruling elites. I don't know. They drink children's blood. I don't know, but they do really crazy shit, right? They go to Yale, but at least Yale is a good school. Harvard is not even a good school. It's just anyway. I goddamn hate Harvard, but just
a lot of projecting, and like her own weird idea of university, kind of.
And this is getting into a stylistic thing. That's why I wanted to. Is this the end of our discussion about this video? I think.
The last thing I wrote is like she continuously conflated progressives and Democrats, which is something that is done often. So when they talk leftists, they mean everything from Hillary Clinton to Bernie Sanders to everyone, right? Brianna, Marxist, everybody. Which is really annoying for a serious conversation, but
yeah, anywhere from like Bill Clinton to Gaddafi. What? How? No, I know, but I mean, look, the only justification I can give for that is that specifically in America, but everywhere else as well, it's just left is so weak, has always been so weak that it's been so sometimes a lot of times combined with liberalism,
attached to
exactly. But it was just it was but
can I make a final point? I'm really sorry.
No, go ahead.
And I think this maybe I did, but I guess the overall issue was, maybe I even mentioned this, the fact that they didn't talk precisely. And this is a point that Brianna's other guest previously,
Thomas Chatterton, Thomas Chatterbox.
Yeah, sorry, we don't have his name. I'm not trying to butcher.
Barra Jr.
I should remember his name now. But one of the better interviews Brianna did recently, and she said that our problem is we don't talk precisely. And Brianna, and especially the guest here, really, it's her fault, I would say, took this to a whole new level and just talking about anything. And the final funniest thing is when she just threw in there that America was founded on America was founded on freedom. She just like threw that in there. Yeah, that's the last random list of bullet points I have here.
No, one, I think that was, what was the point you just said before the...
Not talking precisely.
Oh yeah, I would say Brianna Greyjoy really attempted to get pointed on preciseness of some definitions, but you can't when somebody... No, I agree with your example. I was referring to a different example by somebody. So okay, anyway, so what are you... So there is no wokeness, so you just have a couple of examples. That's what... Anyways, but yeah, let me just... my stylistic comment, I leave it for after. We forgot to talk about the second interview. Not forgot, we haven't talked about the second interview, but I would say Brianna tried that. And what was your second point?
America founded on ideas of freedom, and like she just like threw that. She's like, America is founded on freedom, and they don't talk about it. I mean, I don't know what that means.
Such a stupid... exactly. Like, by the way, again, I don't want to shit on any nation more so than US, or like, I don't think any nation is better than any other. Just better, good, bad, it's freedom. What are you, 5? Like, which nation, which organization has ever been founded on ideals of freedom? And I mean, okay, maybe that some, or like, just grow up. Like in the 17th century, when people were burning women because they were thinking they were witches, and different skin color could have gotten you basically like chained like an animal to a wall. They were thinking of ideals of freedom.
I mean, what does your freedom mean? I mean, you don't even have to give such generous counter examples really to counter.
And again, by the way, at the time when, like, you know, Protestants and Irish, where the hatred among them was probably like equal, if not like as bad as, let's say, between men and women. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not just saying it was all racial prejudices, or it's just, what are you, again, a child? Like, George Washington, you know, said this, you know, fought for our freedoms. Thomas Jefferson was an idealist.
It's just one of those buzzwords that are just thrown around nonstop in the US context. Other places people will laugh. Like, I mean, I don't even know, like freedom or but in the US it's used so commonly. Like, it's just so normal to say that. And then people can just like brush their shoulders.
In France, they talk about De Gaulle. They talk about De Gaulle the same way in US they talk about Washington.
You're right.
In UK they talk about Churchill the same way they talk about Washington. Everybody's
I stand corrected. I stand corrected.
Your shit doesn't stink, isn't, like, that's the rule. In Iran they talk about Reza Shah as if he was like, you know, they were all goddamn losers, all of them. Russians, they talk about Stalin as if he like was this goddamn like man. Anyway,
no, I stand corrected. You're right.
No, it's just because we most of the content we discuss is US. I kind of like to stand up. Like,
No, you're totally right. No, the French one was a beautiful example. Although they're more specific, they'll probably be like, prior to this period there wasn't that,
Napoleon.
But then we included these kind of things of freedom in some words, liberté, égalité, and all that stuff. I think they have a better background story. It holds more than the American one.
I would say, I'm trying to think of, Germans are the only ones who are not allowed. You're not allowed to be proud of your past. Okay, all right.
Yeah, they were officially told. Shut the fuck up for a while at least.
This is officially sanctioned. Even goddamn, I'm sorry, but Japanese, man, like, have you seen the statues of like basically the psychopaths who like killed like half of like population of Korea? It's just everybody's. So I don't want to like figure like just single out the US, but it was, yeah, her just founded on freedom. Fuck off. Just like it's like, yeah, my nephew, like, justice.
Yeah, but that was, yeah, I think people should go watch that though. It's kind of fun and entertaining. The next one had probably more to it. So Ben Jealous, which I think a lot of people know him quite a bit, and apparently he also ran for governor and he's on
I
TV.
had seen him
I had
on
seen him too,
something.
But I couldn't remember exactly.
CNN or something. Yeah,
So
not
he
on
does,
YouTube.
yeah, he does a video, and really they talk a lot about, specifically race and African American in the US.
Wait, before we start, where are you from? Where was your father conceived? At which time of the month? What was the position of the moon at the moment you were conceived? And the racial attitudes towards your family. No,
at the time.
What was it at the time? Because before we establish any of this, I don't know if we can have a frank discussion.
So if that didn't make any sense to any of you, what I think Sam is referring to is that they kind of start talking about race and how race isn't biological or anything like that, and he agrees, I think, and then he goes into his solution about how to overcome racism towards Americans. Go ahead.
Wait, they spent 30 minutes before, by the way, after 30 minutes, Brianna says that, oh, by the way, before we get into
why did she
let's
do that?
Introduce you, because he doesn't allow her to introduce him, because there is a 30 minutes discussion about the place of birth of Brianna, Brianna's mother, Brianna's father, his place of birth, their genetic roots that goes back to Madagascar or I don't know where. Like, he goes through all of that about Brianna and himself. It's just, geez.
To say what was his main argument? What was his main argument based on that?
Oh, I think you get to that, so I'll.
Yeah, I mean, you were doing a good job. You rewatched it again because I didn't rewatch it since last week, so you seem to have it more fresh in your mind.
I watched it twice just because I couldn't goddamn get exactly what was the arguments, and I still don't know what are the arguments and what were the even points of disagreement in this one, because they seem to agree with each other, but in tones that were very much in the, like, the tone was disagreement, but the substance
they have a big disagreement over defund the police, which will come back.
Oh yes, you're right. That's not just about the slogan, not about the substance.
Yeah, and she kind of put him in his place, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
When it came to
but that. I would say just the first 40 minutes of the whole interview was like, come here, tell me, your grandma, where was she from? Just tell me. Come, just give me some random answer. No, just give me some random answer. Where was your grandma from?
Baltimore.
Baltimore. Which part of Baltimore? Which part of Baltimore? South Baltimore? Which street in South? What is this going? Like, for 30 minutes of, and then he has this whole argument about that people should embrace their historical ethnic ancestry because it places them, and I don't know.
And that will help people overcome racism, kind of, right?
I don't know if he definitely said, like, I don't know if he meant it by a structural racism, but he did say, he talks about the fact that I believe his wife or his sister or something is a psychotherapist, and it helps people to cope with a lot of emotional pain. And it could help with, at least at the individual level, I think, help with racism. Yeah, I think so.
I mean, his whole point was pretty much figuring out your ethnicity, right? Like that was his main. That was part of the main.
Your argument. Ancestry, I would say. In a not in a like a racial biological sense, but
then he gave a bunch of examples for himself. That's why I got Baltimore. He's like, apparently his mom found out that,
about the white
person
who was a patient of his wife, again, I believe, that found out that he was Irish white, and that helped him to understand his issues better. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess, and I just don't know how. So I don't know what's the logical conclusion of this. I guess it's that, when you find out, then links can be made between different groups, finding out that, we both have the same ancestry or something. So I'm not
Yeah,
sure what the logical
the
conclusion
thing
of
is,
that argument is. I think something like that. Anyway, the main point, and then we can talk about whatever we want, is that he emphasized on. That's why Sam was asking me those weird questions. Is that his main point was like figuring out, learning a lot about your ancestors.
what do you mean? What's weird
Yeah.
about knowing the exact moon position when your grandparents first dated? That seems to me like no, no, yeah. No, I just think I do agree maybe that in a personal level, because I feel somewhat privileged in that I've known my family history very detailedly, and I've also known sort of my ethnic history
Mhm.
somewhat in a detail. So or national,
Yeah.
ethnic, whatever you want to call it. I don't believe in any of this shit. So, uh, you know, uh, and I don't have a very like uh, ethnic definition of my identity, which is like when you're Iranian, it's easy. I understand. It's like being a Roman.
Yeah, that's what I was trying
It's
to
a
tell you, right? That's what I
yeah.
was trying to
So
say too.
yeah, I feel somewhat like I'm not like I don't feel I can properly comment on his like I can't completely dismiss it. To me, it sounds strange. I remember when I was very young, and my grandfather used to fill my brain with all this like bullshit about our family's glorious past, and I used to reiterate it to my father that did you know like our great grandmother, and then my dad went, did you know if you go back enough, our family used to live in caves and probably be cannibals. And it does put you back somewhat that shit, he's right, isn't he? Like, you go back enough, we were all cavemen living and being
Yeah.
cannibals. So I don't see much to be like yeah, again, maybe though I have had this privilege, so I don't understand the lack of it. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Like a good faith interpretation of it is that his arguments really make sense to maybe within an African American context in the US. Because same thing as me, right? I don't even know my ancestors. Like in the sense that I've never been like interested in like finding out
I
this
know,
or
but
that.
the records are there, let's say.
but
I know.
but
Okay.
it's just like I can imagine they come from different places in like
No,
Iran or whatever you call
but
Iran around here. So I mean that's that. So maybe in like different contexts, if I knew a lot less and stuff, maybe it'd be more
no, that's
interesting in his context. So
actually
it
you
yeah.
make a great point, because I think in our both cases, the thing is the record is there. We can choose to have
Yeah,
it or not. That's the
exactly.
thing.
Okay, yeah, that's what you meant. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, like I can go ask my mom and grandma and stuff and already kind of put in a
yeah,
good
but to be
thing
fair,
together.
they said that they could do that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
And I
just
guess there's no
and
race
then
thing
at
to
yeah.
overcome. So I guess his would be like, yeah, exactly. So if more people know, then they see that we're not so different or something. I don't yeah.
Yeah, and again, it's just yeah from the like
And
background we are from. There was always a discrimination, but it was never racial or so ethnically
mhm.
driven. So yeah,
And I don't think his arguments, I don't think for white Americans, they make too much sense anyway. And white Americans out there watching, they can correct me wrong, but many know if they have Italian background, of course, they know if they have Irish background and they know if Scottish background or English or German and all that.
no,
A lot know that. So in their sense too, they kind of know it. Maybe they're not familiar with culture and all this, but they kind of know where they come from. Going further back than that, then okay, then I mean it becomes
oh, Jesus Christ, Irish Americans, you can't. Sorry, but you can't shut them up about the fact that they're Irish Americans.
yeah. Or
But
Italian ones, I mean.
oh yeah, Italian ones. Although yeah, Italian ones, I would say, are because Italian ones are like more recent, but they are less Italian than
Oh
Irish
man.
Americans are more Irish than Irish people. That is just
Um,
you know what I mean. Like
yeah.
they exaggerate it. But I would say that uh, in I think though as a political project, I completely disagree with it. I
Mm-hmm.
think yes, as a personal thing, it can
Mm-hmm.
give you comfort if you understand the ridiculousness of it. Because sometimes I take comfort in certain things and I feel cool about it, but I do always try to remember my father's cannibalistic analogy and just be like, yeah, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't be proud of something you haven't done. You can be proud of it in a way that you appreciate it, that it's nice for me. But yeah, I think as a larger political project, it's not a really good strategy. It's just good for a personal like thing. Maybe.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like, and which I think he would argue that no, I mean, he would argue like I mean, he's someone who believes in taking part in politics, right? He tried to run for governor and all this. So I'm assuming he guesses with that kind of mind frame.
And
he thinks
and
within
by the
that
way,
mind frame.
I've always thought, like, if you're one of the white Africans from South Africa, or if you were like 2 generations ago, if you were a German, like if you constantly root yourself in your own ancestry, like some of like our near ancestry committed really, really awful crimes. And what, you're gonna have that lord over you? Because just like there is and then I think that could lead to backfire of like just going, yeah, whatever, I'm proud of it, it was my ground. Like, it's, I don't know, it's a dangerous thing.
Yeah, in that sense, yeah. So I mean, that was the main, and then there were a couple of small arguments we can get into. But the Italian thing that you said is funny though, how like Italians in the US are not Italian at all, and it just reminds me of this episode in Sopranos where they go to Italy, and I mean, one of them, what's his name, Paulie, Uncle Paulie, he is so like, he's so like disgusted by everything that goes on in Italy, right? They're having like dinner, and the food that he brings is like, what the hell is this? Bring me this or that, which is like a totally Italian American thing. So, and he can't wait to get back home. And then they show him in the car when he's back home, and he's just like looking out the window, like New Jersey, and like he's so happy, now he's back home actually from a short trip abroad where he thought he was going to where he's from, but he realized that he had like zero connections with that area.
It's all a fantasy. It's all it's to be fair though, besides Italian Americans, as you know, there is a large segment of Iranian community that for some reason is in love with Italy. And I love the fact that whenever they go to Italy and they come back, they are so disgusted from the fact that they're like, it was so dirty, and the pizza, it was oval, it was not round, there was some fishy stuff. It's just the actual thing is so different from their expectations, and it's all a fantasy. So it's I would say I don't know, with the Irish one, do you think, I think it's a bit closer because of the language, there is no language barrier. So I maybe a bit more closer there, but it's still very different.
No, just the Italian one, a good example of Soprano, so I felt comfortable leaning into that one. But yeah, another thing that they talked about was kind of defund the police. So I don't know how that came up, but he just suddenly said like defund the police. He dismissed it, defund the police, and then what? Nobody wants to talk about it. And Brianna's like, no, people have written about defund the police, that it's kind of, you demilitarize, you can say in a certain point, certain segments of it, and just switch the funding to a different kind of program. And she said people have written on it, and he was kind of like, and then what?
No, his argument was that it's a slogan that's a scare. By the way, he had this anti-intellectual pose that I mean, even in the beginning, to be fair to him, he didn't know the writing of Thomas Chatterton, but as soon as Brianna said there is this like author, he was like,
yeah. And who is he? Was he not sitting in a university though? I love when people, does he not work at a university himself?
He's educated from Oxford, which is basically the UK seminary school. They still have to wear the goddamn funny hats when they go meet their tutor in Oxford and Cambridge. So I don't. And then he
I
had
don't
this sort of
understand this,
anti-intellectual. They call themselves abolitionists, but what have they abolished? I abolished law. And it's like, you do know, like, Marxists didn't actually, like, East March. I don't know. Like, you don't have to do like it's anyway.
Yeah.
But I would say I hate defund the police
I was gonna
slogan. I think it's a
argue with that.
shitty. If I was a marketing guy, if I was the PR guy for a campaign, I would never go for defund the police.
But why? But why? Because
It's
at the
shitty,
same
because
time, it's good
defund the
too.
police.
Because so
Reform
it
the police.
resonates, it
No,
resonates,
it
and then
doesn't
you can
resonate.
say what. No, I mean, like people like remember it, like right. You say defund the police, like everybody kind of
Not in a good
remember
way.
because some people want like a long slogans like defund the police and do this. I'm like, sorry, that's not like a slogan. So slogan has to be like short and quick. And I feel like it gives a moment of entry into the conversation.
No, defund, in my view, when you say defund the police, and after it came out, I Googled it, and I found out, yes, academically it means something else. But when you say defund, it means no more funding. And I don't think that's the problem. You're specifying, and at the same time, you're vague enough for a right wing to be able to. It's shitty. I think it's a very shitty slogan.
I don't think
in my
it's fully
view,
shitty because I think it meets half of the requirements of a slogan, which is for it to be easy and catchy.
I don't think that's half. That's like 10%.
I think that's an important part of a slogan. But I've seen other people write in commentary and comments or demilitarize.
It's like Black Lives Matter, by the way.
Or like demilitarize the police. I don't know. I mean, all slogans are going to be incomplete. They're never going to say exactly what you want. If not, you need like 5 or 6 words in there.
No, shitty is different from bad. Like sometimes it's not very cool. Okay, it's not very cool. Whatever. Who gives a shit? But sometimes it's counterproductive. I think Black Lives Matter, defund the police, gay pride, all of these are, in my view, counterproductive.
I think they might have counterproductive elements, but I think they also come with some. Yeah, I mean, I'm not married to this couple, to this slogan. But funnily, when I heard it for the first time, when I heard defund the police for the first time, and I've never read academic work on police, I for some reason understood where they were going with it, and I didn't find it to be a bad slogan.
The first time I heard about it, I found it scary. I found it anarchistically, and I meant like anarchist in a even best possible sense of way, where communities come together and set laws. Sure, and it came out of this whole Chaz. Was it Chaz? What was that? Like they set up a like it was bullshit, by the way, and right wing. They set up this self-grueling entity. They kicked the police out after George Floyd and stuff.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Chaz? There was this area where like they tried to do, it was all bullshit, right-wing, blew it out of proportion. But it's just, again, I don't even care. It's just for me, this is like linguistic and semantic argument. But I do think these slogans don't help. But I don't think it matters, though. I don't think slogans matter. I don't think Nike is the highest selling shoe company because they have Just Do It.
No, not because
what I mean?
That. But I mean, when you get something going, I mean, I think some people emphasize the name too much, right? I've been part of projects where nothing has started yet, and they're having a debate left and right about the name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Silicon Valley.
That's exaggerated a bit. But at the same time, I do see the value in having a quick short slogan that gets people's attention and provides like a point of entry. But then you're right, if a lot of people are completely misunderstanding it, then you should think of something else. I always understood it as kind of demilitarize and shift funding to different areas. Like the perfect example I've heard is kind of social services and stuff, some things, why police show up. Or I know in Switzerland there are cases where apparently I have to look into this better, but they actually did this in Switzerland where they separated police who do parking checks and give parking tickets and kind of made this different one. So I kind of see defund the police as that way. They shifted it to a different kind of organization.
By the way, just to blow Iranian trumpet a bit, that's why, by the way, in Iran, while the Western media is always trying to say police in Iran is this force of suppression and oppression. In fact, you have two types of police in Iran, as you know. There is the type of like driving police,
Mhm.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
don't know, drive. Yeah. And those police, everybody, like, you don't fear them. In fact, they might fear you a bit. And they are the nicest police officers. They're polite and then you have the different police force that you rarely see. But when you do see,
Mhm.
yeah, you don't want to see. So, you after that you don't see much. So it's just this, but yeah,
Yeah.
I would say, I it's just, I agree with you in like general terms, but well, I disagree with you. I think slogans don't matter at all, but okay, in a way that they matter. Yeah, change them, in my view, when you see they are being used negatively. But it's just, I don't
And yeah.
even think electoral politics, or because that seems to be the whole project that, with all due respect, Miss Greyjoy is pursuing, this idea of communicating and bringing people together. I don't think any of that is gonna ever happen, or is even good if it happens. So I don't care. Like, yeah, whatever. Like, I don't think it's a good slogan, but I don't care. Like, I don't think even if you had a good slogan, it wouldn't have mattered one bit. So
Oh, I think this is like a perfect segue to Kyle's video against
oh yeah, that's yeah,
against
yeah, yeah.
doomerism.
No,
I mean,
no,
the
wait.
last thing I want to
No,
say
no,
about
no.
slogans, though, is that
Before,
sometimes,
go ahead.
yeah, sometimes you
Sorry.
can't be at the mercy of the other side because, of course, even if you have the world's greatest slogan, the other side is always going to try, whoever the other side is, the opposition will always try to like put holes in it and say why it's good and bad. So you also have to stand up, behind what you're saying at a certain point.
Yes, and again, it doesn't matter. Slogans, none of this matter. The only thing matters are organizations and leverage. That's it. So, no, before we, just because I thought this is also a good segue to the Kyle thing, is I had a, like, that's why, like, at the end, the specific, especially the interview with Miss Sargon or whatever, it just, and I think the video we're going to talk about, it's, what is the psychotherapy sessions of, like, yeah, like, oh, who gives a shit? I tried to do this in my university. I tried to do that at my work of place. Oh, this emotionally hurts people. This, who gives a shit? Like, I'm sorry, but yeah, go ahead.
No,
Introduce
no,
the video.
no, no.
Because
The Kyle video.
yeah, because I think I'm coming off as very vague. But I feel like a lot of videos
Yeah,
and
so just mention
interviews
the video. I mean, Kyle, I'll just mention
are
quickly and
becoming
then
psychotherapy sessions of, like, people that, who gives a shit about any, like, again, it's like the slogan thing to an extent. Like, oh, like, I think it's a bad slogan. I think it's a good. Who cares? Like none of this matters in the larger, anyway.
yeah, I think so. I think with this video, let me just put that out there. So I think Kyle was trying to kind of tell people to still have hope, right? Which is exactly what you're kind of pointing at. So he wrote that, yeah, the name of the video is
No, no,
Kyle's
no,
Case Against Doomerism, No More Political Nihilism. And
no.
I
I'm
guess the
not pointing.
overall, go ahead.
I'm not even pointing out the fact that it was against hope or against not hope or what. It's just this personal feeling. Like, what had, I mean, okay, all right. Sorry, just yeah, you should set out his arguments. And I just don't think politics in a larger scale works in a, like, how we feel about things matters that much. But yeah.
I see. I mean, I didn't get so much of the feeling vibe, but I'll summarize how I understood Kyle's video in one sentence. He pretty much said, "Hey, people, don't be so down, don't be so depressed. Here are some things that have been achieved, I guess, politically, and if we do X, Y, and Z, we could achieve more." That's kind of, I think, his main argument was in the video. What did you think was the main argument?
Well, his main argument was that political nihilism, as he would call it, that there are these people sitting on a, let's say, in their ivory towers, and they're judging us for
Yeah, that's
participating in politics, while in fact there is a lot of shit that can be done, and there is a lot of positive things that are coming out of politics. For example, he points out the recent John Deere strikes that led to some concessions from the businesses, and he points out the David Dayan article that points out all the executive actions that a president can take to, for example, change laws and policies.
Yeah.
So I
So
think that's.
exactly.
I
So I
think
mean,
it's a
no,
good faith. I hope it's a good faith.
yeah. I mean, I think I kind of said the same. Sorry.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna say I think I kind of I was trying to say the same thing, except you added a good angle. Because he was saying not only like don't feel like you can't change anything, because exactly he gave those examples like you mentioned, and then he also says what else could be done that he believes that even more could happen, and then and he's also like don't listen to what these people who whenever you're trying something they're saying there's no point to it. I think he was speaking perhaps directly to us there if he knew us, but saying
I don't think he is aware of us.
Yeah, I know exactly, but I'm saying if he knew us, or maybe if he knew you, some of the points that you make, you're like he'd be like, yeah, don't listen to these people who are saying you can't achieve anything in politics, because you can, and you can achieve more if you do X, Y, and Z. And anyway, what are your way of putting it or my way of putting it? I think we're saying the same thing, but that was his main argument.
Sure. No, I just wanted to highlight the fact that he was okay. So go ahead, give your. I'll have some notes or two.
No, I mean I don't have much to say. I mean the kind of suggestions that he made were kind of like very basic. I feel like it's just like something like yeah, sure. I mean, one of his main things that he started with was like, we need an enforcer. And I think you talk about that sometimes. That made me kind of think of you. So he was like, we need someone in Congress or politicians that will really stand up and like, push back and fight for us. That was one thing. I'm like, yeah, sure. Then I think he went on this strange metaphor towards the end. There were a few other points here that I'm skipping, but then he goes on a metaphor of how
that was the best. That
athletes,
was the part I hated the most.
Like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and Tiger Woods. They really rise up when it comes, to like, the clutch moments in the game and everything. So I think putting that metaphor aside, because that one kind of reminded me of his argument where anybody talks about a third party, he's like, no, third parties would never work. Look at Pepsi and Coca-Cola. Has blah, blah, blah ever broken in? That's like his whole argument comes on this.
Yeah,
and finally,
by the way, which is a stupid argument, because there has been a lot of cola companies that tried different things and then got bought out by Coca-Cola, which is basically what a third party push would be. Like, trying to get a leverage buyout from the Democratic Party.
Or I can go find another industry where or I can find another industry where two brands dominated and then other ones have come and taken over or made big. There are these in like the TV area, mobile cell phones. For a while it was just Nokia, but then it got kicked out. So I mean, that argument of his kind of pushing it. But one last thing I want to put, I feel like Kyle, although here this video doesn't really support it, but I think Kyle was really like, and I understand him, but really like hurt from how his involvement in politics went with the whole AOC, Justice Democrat. I mean, you can tell that has hurt him more than anything, really. Like people making fun of him on videos and all that it seems like it was just brushing off his shoulder. But this activity that he partook, it really left a mark on him, and to say the least, it seems.
I think to be look, look, when I say we need somebody, okay, I don't know where to begin, because I was going to begin with criticizing. Now I feel like I'm defending myself now. Okay, first defending myself. When I say, I think first, like what I think left needs to stop wanting somebody who's not necessarily corrupt, so to speak. As in, what I mean? Like somebody who's in it for their personal interest, including increasing their personal power. But that would make them, because right now, just financially, there is no way left is going to compete. So what do you have to offer for someone to come to your side? For example, I think Tulsi Gabbard is an interesting example, because I don't think she really believes in anything. I think she's a bit of she's just a politician that wants power, kind of that is, not interested in money as much as power. Clinton was interested in money, and that's, you can't control those people. You can't control the people with power either, by the way. They end up like a Stalin or something. So there is that. But that's what I mean. I don't mean just like this leadership bullshit that I think. Sorry, but I don't believe in this leadership. And if somebody stands up, people will gather, and then no. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, he used the term enforcer. That was like a bit different than what he was usually say, but yeah.
I would agree with him, though, that if somebody did take harder positions, they would. But the problem is, and that's why, by the way, we don't have somebody like Tulsi, or like the type I want. Not necessarily Tulsi Gabbard specifically, somebody who's interested in power. Because since 1960s and 70s, the left has basically developed this kind of allergy towards power, and this disgust. Anybody who has power, power corrupts. It corrupts absolutely. Somebody like Carl Kulinski loves to quote that. He doesn't know that quote comes from some asshole who was a pro-slavery guy who has spent his whole life, promoting slavery in the US, even though he was from the UK, Lord Acton. But he says it because, it sounds cool, because it's a cool tagline, So, that I mean, systematically, to be honest, that's going back to Adolf Fried interview. Sadly, I think we're in a position that, I know it's boring, and I know it sounds repetitive. We need to do deep organization that Adolf Fried talks about, like start by local communities, local journals, or international highly active communities. I don't know. And maybe in 20, 30 years, we'll get something substantial done. So I don't think just, that's what I mean by somebody like, then you can have somebody who actually likes power and then can engage in power play. Even if you get elected Bernie Sanders or Tulsi Gabbard right now, they can't do much. The power structure is not there. That's gets to my specific, if I may, moving on to criticism.
Please do.
Yeah, this whole, by the way, just one John Deere strikes, and he goes on a 10-minute talk about this one strike that after 40 years worked in the US, and what everybody should abandon all the other evidence. And there was one successful strike. There was also I believe last year Bernie Sanders led to a campaign that led to Amazon raising their minimum wage. Am I correct? Raising their thing to $15 or something.
Yeah, maybe.
It's just, oh wow. Do you want me to point that to 35? And I hate this, by the way. History is a mixture of progression and regression and all that. It's all happening at the same time. So let's not just say, it's all bullshit, or it's all like, it's just again, it's like freshman. It's not even freshman. This is like high school level.
Yeah.
So that's just, I mean, bullshit example.
If I was to be, I would just give him one thing. Like, this is annoying. Like, let's say if you go try something, although this is exactly what he did as well. When people talk about third party, he goes crazy on them and tells them not to pursue the third party, and it's not going to work whatsoever, as if he's been a political strategist his whole life. Is that okay if you see some people trying something? I mean, maybe point out some criticisms and stuff, but not go shit on them all the time and just say, no, it won't work, nothing will work. Because sure, some things work. I mean, let's not blow it out of proportion, but some things work, like the John Deere strikes that he mentioned stuff. So that I understand. If people are doing stuff, don't go shit on it too much. But then kind of the examples he blows out of proportion, and his solutions were just sure. So I mean, it didn't give me much hope. I mean, he tried to give hope. I don't think it conveyed that too much. And I'm kind of trying to read the comments. to see if people are, or they got that out of it, but they're kind of all over the place. So never mind. So I'll give him that. That pisses me off too. If you go shit on everything that everybody tries to do and say that it doesn't work, which, like I said, he did. Right? Everybody, this is like anybody who mentions third party, he goes crazy on them.
But that's the thing, though. You shouldn't do all these things because you think they work. I don't do this because I think I'm not a left winger because I definitely think Marxism is going to prevail. That's not. It's not.
Yeah, no,
about,
but I'm saying,
like,
let's say if you were a left wing activist, right? Like if say you were someone who was trying to make things and change and all that, right? So I mean, I
like deciding on a strategy that is going to be most effective.
And in some areas and some stuff, things happen and things change. There are countless examples. So I take his point to not shit on everything that everybody's doing.
Of course,
that becomes annoying.
That's right. Okay, yeah. All right, fair
I'll
enough.
give him as far as that, but although I think, I don't think that was.
I just think it's such a childish, high schooly argument that, of course, not everything is going. It's not everything is becoming worse. Not everything is becoming better. It's like a Steven Pinker wrote. That's like, we talked about him. Like, I think he's a linguistically and cognitive science. He's a fantastic scientist, but he wrote this article about how things have gotten better or things are never have been as good as what is the basis of your judgment anyway? Like, how do you? It's idiotic. In my view, it's just. Besides the fact that, by the way, nihilism is not what he like. I mean, if you want to get into the specific definitions, I don't want to get into a semantic argument. But for somebody who thinks, by the way, for somebody who's constantly shitting on a lot of people and it's just the level of arrogance. I'm sorry, but
I'll be fair to him. I'll be let's be 100% fair to him. So he used the term nihilism. I'm just being really, really nice.
In a popular sense.
No. He used it on the picture of the video. I closed it now. But in his title, he wrote right here, I have it. Sorry. So on the picture, he wrote "No more political nihilism." But the title of the video says Kyle's case against doomerism. So nothing would work. So he himself, I feel, was kind of stuck with which one to go, and the different things, right? I mean, he's not.
I mean, look, I hate that sentence. Nothing will work. Just like I hate the sentence "power will corrupt and absolute power corrupts absolutely," because they're both goddamn vague bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, nothing works. What do you mean nothing works? In regards to what? In relation to what? Like, what do you mean? Like, yes, of course, nothing will make the world a paradise tomorrow. Yeah. But also nothing substantial will happen tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, again, childish arguments for childish people instead of talking about real policies or anyway.
Yeah, I don't have much else to add. I mean,
and again, by the way, I wanted to add the bad faith one. I don't know, like, that one of the reasons why I hate that interview, Miss Sargon, was the whole thing about the fact that, I mean, stylistically, I wanted to come to this, and I wanted to wait for this thing that we don't care about your, like, tell me about it, sister. Tell me about it. I wanted to do this thing at our law firm. And in our law firm, they were like that thing. And then tell me what happened in your experience. And then Kyle is like, if you think about it, Tiger King, they said he won't come back from his things, and then he tried, and he had this mentality. Come on, what is this, a goddamn movie from 1990s where Samuel Jackson is a coach of a basketball team and gives you a speech, or Kurt Russell is your hockey coach in America? Grow up. That's not how history works. And none of your activities as a student union member, as a none of this is all that matters is money, leverage, and organization. And organization, I mean labor unions, that was shit. Like proper organization. This bull. Michael Jordan. They said he can't come back from. Who gives a shit? Or tell me about it. Sister, can you believe that they said that? what is this psychoanalysis for? Again, I'm a Freudian, and I think it's all very good for your individual goddamn personal validation and growth. Fantastic, but I mean, maybe I thought this is more about something. I mean, unless you're making somebody laugh, you should be trying to educate them. And if neither of these two things is happening, I'm angry.
Yeah, which was the case. But no, there was these were some good videos that people need to watch them and kind of to get the feeling of it. I know exactly that example with the law school and stuff. They were funny. And yeah, I mean, I don't even know if they were trying to psychoanalyze. I wouldn't use those terms, but they were just like, no, I don't know what he was trying to do. Like, I don't know what
stuff. I don't get.
Yeah, like, I mean, let's stick to Kyle's analogy for a second. Funny. His analogy with the sports stars or something was
Tiger Woods
was the craziest thing.
The bullshit that it was, fortune cookie. Don't give up. Keep on.
Like exactly. Like 80s. If you believe it, you can achieve it, and then kind of like mindset for making money. Also, wake up at 4 a.m. and do it, or like it kind of went like down those things, but. Yeah, I mean, since we poked a little bit fun at Brianna, she still did a good job in the conversation that she was in.
Oh, she did. I think she did. Yeah. I think the fact that she hasn't had I mean, if I were in her position, I would have actually either murdered somebody or would have had a stroke by now, I think.
Yeah. But this lady was nice, so I don't think she minded the conversation. Like, although she was a bit, what's it called to Brianna at times? Like,
she was so fake California, even though she's from Boston.
Like it. Yeah, exactly.
She was from Boston. Tell me about it. Oh, I think we agree on that. I'm sorry.
So I guess she was nice, but it seemed like Brianna didn't mind it too much.
I don't know, but don't you, like, we've had some similar experiences, but don't you, like, I've seen 1,000 people like her.
Like who, Brianna or the lady?
The lady.
Yeah. Like,
Brianna, I've seen couple. Like typical bourgeois, nice people. Fake laugh, fake smile, fake, like, I don't know. That's the vibe I
get. She laughed a lot with her, and like, so I mean, I don't think maybe Brianna didn't take it all in a bad way, and whether it was all fake or stuff,
No, I don't even think it's all fake. It's just the way I'm just, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Just very shallow. Again, apologies. I haven't read the book or anything, so I don't know. What's your?
Yeah, no, me too. I mean, I don't think I have anything more to add all this. I largely agree with what you've said, and I think I voiced my disagreement when it wasn't the case. So I think we're all kind of good with this Progressive World online segment. A lot of videos. One last final defense. I think the videos that we covered today, I mean, you did a good job with coming up with the main argument thesis between Brianna and the lady, but I couldn't even do that. That's why all my points were small things from here and there. So
full credit due to remembering that guys defund the police thingy, because their discussion is so branchy and so
kind of like ours.
Yes. Sure. Yeah. Touche.
Sometimes, not always. At times we try to stick to it, but yeah.
I love the fact that I try always to come up with these structures, and then I end up being the one who completely deviates from them. So
that was good stuff. All right, Sam, I think it's time now to move on to our next segment, a Geopolitical Briefs. So what do you have for us this week?
Sure. Yeah, there is not much, to be honest, but there was the Iranian nuclear talks started this week. So that happened yesterday. The first round of talks, according to the head of IAEA, was described as positive. And sorry, just checking. Oh yeah, Enrique Mora, who was the EU representative at the talks in the Vienna, he's described the talks as positives. But at the same time, you had both Iranians and US sort of officials expressing certain concerns and all that. So as you can expect, that's going as as always, pretty much. Uh, you know, some people say it's positive, some people say it's negative. It's not going anywhere. I doubt there's going to be a deal. So,
But it's a new
I don't know.
start, huh? How long do you think? Any indications of how long these negotiations could last again, or is there like a time frame for anything, or no?
From what I know, no, not at all. And Iranian government announced that they are setting up the budget for the next year, which Iranian next year is in 4 months, I think.
Mm-hmm.
They said that they're gonna do, do that budget based on like thinking that sanctions are in place,
Mm-hmm.
assuming sanctions are in
Yeah.
place. So no, I don't think there's gonna be. I don't think there's gonna be much coming out of these talks, to be honest.
I see. Okay. Wow. So I mean, these are the resumption of the talks with the new government and everything. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I understand your
So
skepticism.
yeah, it's not gonna be great. I don't think.
Mhm.
But yeah. So, but I thought I mentioned that. Uh, on the more general side, in Europe, you had much change. Like there was a lot of lockdowns and a lot of concern about the whole new variant of COVID that is coming out of Africa, and there was a banning of people coming from a number of African countries. The South African president was very critical of the move. He was very angry, you could argue, and you know so that seems to be and then you had the major protests in Belgium and other countries.
Mhm.
In I think Belgium it got pretty violent. They burned down a couple of cars and shops and all that. So that seems to be what's going on in Europe right now in terms of UK reintroduced lockdowns. Sorry,
Lockdown
not
is,
lockdowns,
I think,
not
masks
masks in
in their
public
case.
places and buses. So it seems quite interesting how.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we shall see how it goes. Hopefully, it doesn't get as bad as last year, because last year there was like total lockdowns across Europe this time of the
Yeah,
year.
yeah, yeah.
And yeah,
Hopefully,
I
it's
mean,
not
I can't
as
put
serious.
my finger on it like exactly, but because they did this with other countries, but as soon as like this variant was associated with South Africa, it's just, again, I can't put it into words, but just like the narrative and the way that they like quickly tried to combat it, there's just something that doesn't sit well with me. But yeah, I can't put it into words. And I mean, you're saying the South African president was pissed off, and I mean, I understand why he was pissed off, because other countries too, right? They ban other countries from coming X, Y, and Z. Israel is not allowing anybody to come in. But the fact that this new variant was found in like South Africa, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know if you understand what what I'm
I
saying, but
don't
just like a
know.
way when it comes from like an African country or something, there's just like an easier way I find like to mobilizing it and like trying to put distance between yourself and it. I don't know. I just like
Oh,
got that
that's true.
kind of
Yeah,
like, yeah, which is,
yeah. It's
again,
harder
with
if
this
it was
COVID
from
stuff,
Canada.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's hard to put your finger on it sometimes, but there's some elements of it that are just, yeah.
yeah, but I mean, yeah,
Again,
but I
don't
think
don't waste your time
yeah,
trying
yeah, but
to.
I just want. It was surprising to me that after this happened, like to me, like the most obvious, the clear, if there is anybody to blame for this, it's people like Bill Gates. The I'm sorry, but the what can you say? The monstrous uh, I don't know, like what can you call them? The people who, there is a goddamn pandemic, and all they can think about is their profit margins in like their shares in pharmaceutical companies. So I googled Bill Gates to see if there's any criticisms of him because of the fact that he was one of the major lobbyiers for the fact that they haven't still allowed the patents for the vaccines to become public, or I suppose, or
Yeah.
be used by governments to produce the vaccines all around the world, or that, and the COVAX program has been behind it. And most of the news articles was about the 2 books that Bill Gates recommends for your new year. There was one in the first page of Google, and it was by, guess what, by the Kennedy guy, one of the Kennedy people who's a conspiracy theorist, and that's the only thing that made it to the page 1 of Google News. So yeah, it's just, I think the clear culprit in, if there is a bad guy in all this, it's them. And I do think banning of flights, it would be a policy I would support, but I do agree with you that when it's from Africa, it seems to be far easier to enforce. And
yeah, just the mobilization and putting all the minds behind it. Yeah, I mean, just yeah. Go on.
Yeah, I just
think that was the most useless commentary of all time.
Yeah, I would say if it was from, let's say, Norway, I don't know if it would be quite the same, as easy to. Yeah.
I mean, it's a good thing it's not from Norway, because otherwise it would have spread much faster. Because of the flights connecting in Norway,
Oslo is quite well connected. Yeah. So yeah, anyways, but yeah, so so moving on to the back to Iranic war, Afghanistan. This is a bit more fun sort of news, and I hope you find it as fun as I do. UAE bans Ghani from taking part in Afghan politics. Colin, I love this. That's part of the title. Colin Taliban. Just Colin Taliban.
What?
I don't know.
I don't even get it.
Yeah, it's from Daily Sepat, the Turkish news island. They don't put any, the title is longer than the tagline or the post column thing. It's so I love that. I'll send you I hope you put the picture as we talk. UAE bans Ghani from taking part in Afghan politics, colon Taliban, which basically tells you, I think, everything you need to know. But yeah, basically UAE has banned Ghani, former president of Afghanistan, and other Afghan officials from participating in politics in Afghanistan politics, at least.
And then what's the Taliban? And then Colin Taliban because what? Because Taliban said this?
I assume Taliban requested this, and yes, according to Ahmadullah Wasiq, the Taliban's deputy spokesperson, said Sunday that the UAE implemented bans on Ghani, who settled in Dubai after the Taliban's takeover of Afghanistan, and other Afghan officials living in exile, preventing them from playing any role on political stage of their home country. Wasiq said in a Twitter post that Ghani's former national security advisor, Hamdullah Muhib, and governor of Balkh, I think, province, Atta Muhammad Noor, were also on the list. So, it's interesting.
Interesting stuff.
It's the
headline.
The latest move to ban comes from engaging. Came after reports that the Taliban in UAE held secret talks during which Abu Dhabi reportedly also announced its desire to run the Kabul Hamid Karzai International Airport. And that airport is I believe right now is being secured by Turkish forces.
Turkish, yeah.
So Hamid Karzai is just the Ashraf Ghani is just, I don't know. I wonder if he's worried if they hand him over.
Oh, sure.
I don't think they will. But
yeah, to the Taliban.
I think he should have gone to Russia.
Yeah, he would have been safer.
I think so. Yeah. I think. Yeah. I don't know.
Interesting. And have you just been in general? Because I mean, we moved away a little bit from doing this many news stories, but have you been following Afghanistan still yourself in your personal life? To be honest, this is the
Yeah,
first time I
as
heard
a
the term
personal citizen.
Afghanistan in like 6 weeks. So this just came to my mind. I was just thinking, I have no idea what's going on in Afghanistan, and I was
No,
so
yeah.
preoccupied with Afghanistan just 2 to 3 months ago.
Yes.
I couldn't locate it on a map anymore now. 2 to 3 months ago had solutions, strategies. Are you talking about cities or this mountain or that
Yeah.
mountain?
So I believe the mistake, crucial mistake in the withdrawal was abandoning the highlands of Balkh. So yeah, no, yeah, to some extent. I mean, yeah, to more because it's I follow Persian language news outlets, so yeah, it does come up.
It's
So
still in
yes.
BBC Persia.
Any
That's true.
questions? Any regarding the?
I mean, honestly, I'm so out of the loop. I wouldn't even know what to ask. So no.
I mean, it is Taliban is it's the same shit that's been going on for the last 3 months. Taliban announced recently that former officials can come back, but they shouldn't expect cabinet jobs. So they're playing this whole. They're trying to get the money out of the U.S. That's the whole game right now.
Yeah.
And as we talked like from 2 months ago, it's still a fight between the Qatari wing and the Pakistani wing. So we'll see. I think the Pakistani wing will win.
That's interesting. Like get money from the US, you mean like, get like different kinds of fundings and these kind of things, or get their own money?
No, they blockade.
blockade.
They have the money from Afghanistani government that's been frozen since their takeover, which is like, I don't know, 200 billion, something like that. I forget.
Okay, I see. The reason I said this because a while ago I saw this story. It was on Al Jazeera, and it was showing how different some groups of Taliban were not wearing the traditional Taliban clothes, but they're wearing military gear and all this. And it was like this whole thing in Al Jazeera, and it just made me think they're probably trying to tell the US, be like, buddy, we can also buy your stuff if that's what that's what you're into. If you want, we can just put on full gears and all that. So I thought maybe they're just referring to kind of that.
No, that's too I mean, I doubt. Look, as I've mentioned, I don't think there is a Taliban at the moment. Like, right the moment they took over Afghanistan, Taliban was over. And there was an interesting article, although I would say very strangely framed. I would say it was framed in a way to excuse Biden administration and generally U.S. policy towards Afghanistan in the last 20 years, which talk about the fact that how Talibani infiltrators played a huge role in the takeover of Taliban in Afghanistan. I think, where did I see this? God damn it. Was it in the Atlantic or was it in BBC? I forget. Anyway, it was if I can find it, I try to share the link in the description or whatever. But there was this major article and this sort of reporting that the recent reports and stuff reveals that Taliban infiltrators played a key role in the Taliban's fast takeover of the Afghanistan, which is true in a way, but it's true in a sense that it shows how weak the structure was before Taliban takeover and how loose and fickle everybody's position is in a situation where everything is chaotic and everything is a lie, and every reporting American government and American military was lying about 17 years of the 20 years about the landscape of the warfare and all that. It's not that they were actually Taliban infiltrators and from day one they were like this goddamn Manchurian candidates like this TV shows, the Americans and all that. It's just but yeah, I mean, yeah, the whole Taliban adopting US. I mean, they took over some amount of US military hardware, so I assume they use it. So.
Yeah, and your other point about like the Taliban not existing after the takeover, the point that you're making is, if I understand correctly, which is while the US were there, like all these different people and groups who called themselves Taliban, they all had like a unifying objective and enemy, which was the US and getting them out. When they're out,
And
then
all
is
these,
the
by the way,
question, what do you do?
all these infiltrators in the government or in the whatever state. What do you think they were? They were people who maybe at the beginning were sympathetic, then saw some crimes or then saw some lies, or from beginning they were not sympathetic and they just got some more money from Taliban. Like, this is not goddamn rocket science or some goddamn Taliban is not, this even Soviet Union was not this goddamn organization that, let's plan this long-term project of 40 years. We infiltrate the US, US Yankees and will take over. What do you think is going on in like Afghanistani caves? What do you think they're doing? They're reading Quran and then going and like, anyways, it's just this.
I mean, this is like
the focus should be on the fact. Yeah, the focus should be on the fact that for 20 years and about $7 trillion spent, nothing was achieved pretty much, except like one dam. Like we built a dam. That was like,
No, I mean, that's like a typical way things are framed in the media or like in other ways, whenever they're talking about like the other or the enemy. At the same time, there's this one oversimplified group, but they're also like purely like calculated in such an amazing way and evil, and there isn't like that.
They are barbarians, but at the same time they are such well organized.
Exactly, right? It's like, which one is it? It just kind of reminds me of that.
So that's, I thought I'd share you with that. That seemed like a very worthwhile piece of information to have in your brain. I'm sure you're happy. On other news, we had this was interesting article from Jerusalem Post. Can Israel's new Fox News style channel bring Netanyahu back to power? So let me read this paragraph to put things into context. It took an American billionaire in the late casino magnate. It took an American billionaire in the late casino magnate Sheldon Adelson to start Israeli Hayom. Hayom was a right-wing newspaper, right-wing newspaper in Israel that contributed to the growth of Netanyahu from 90s to 2000s and onwards. Georgian-born Euro-Asian, I love that description, Jewish Congress president Mikhail Mirashvili's son, businessman Yitzchak Mirilashvili, has taken on the television project, investing massive sums in the new Channel 14, which premiered on Sunday night amid great fanfare. Netanyahu tweeted about the TV station 3 times, as did his supporters in the Likud faction. So it's like a new news channel, kind of, I suppose, like a sort of new, Fox News, or maybe like more, even worse. What was the worst ones? One America, New America.
Oh, like that new one?
The new ones that
Newsweek. Oh, I forgot on it.
Newsmax.
That's one of them, right?
And there is another one. Yeah. So I think Netanyahu, increasingly, it's quite funny. Netanyahu is like degenerating into Trump, as Trump is degenerating into Netanyahu, which just leaves you, how do you just degenerate into, anyway, but because Netanyahu started as a politician in 1990s, and now he's becoming a media figure. But Trump doing the opposite, sort of, but they are both degenerating. It is just like very interesting. But yeah, and I love by the way, Euro-Asian, Georgian-born Congress's president's son. Like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I guess. Congress of where? Anyway, but yeah.
Yeah.
Because at this point, yeah, I don't know. So I don't know. Do you think he's gonna make a comeback, this guy, or?
Good. I mean, all I know is that the coalition is still apparently not very like it's not like sealed, right? So I mean, it is sealed for now, but it's not in a way that another election um couldn't mess them up. So he could, right, theoretically, and yeah, and based on what I know, he doesn't. I mean, I guess his
Yeah,
reputation
unless he
hasn't
goes
taken
down.
further damage or anything, right, since leaving office. I mean, he kind of is where he was, right?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't read up recently, but it seems like, yeah, even in Likud, he's still like the main guy, which is quite odd to me because
Yeah.
like he's completely has a complete control over the Likud party, which seems odd considering that Likud party didn't lose the election because of any policies or because they basically went in and just murdered people in Gaza or because they
Yeah.
illegally removed people from. Nobody cared about the reason why they lost the edge in the election was largely because of his corruption and stuff.
Corruption, yeah.
Yeah, him and his wife basically being just so corrupt and so disgusting that people just Jesus Christ, like Jewish people going Jesus Christ. They don't believe that in Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and they can have election at any time, kind of really, right? So who knows? They can call snap election and those kind of things too, right?
If the coalition collapses, which is likely considering it's a very fragile coalition. I think they have the majority by like 5 votes or something. So.
Exactly. So the chances are probably there.
Yeah. But so I thought another, just so you know that, I know you were worried that Netanyahu, your political hero, somebody you always tell me you want to emulate in personal as well as professional life. So I thought I'd let you know he's not out, buddy. He's going to be there. Don't worry.
Definitely misses. I mean, even on this show where we like to have fun and everything, I think he was just too much fun. Even for us with his takes and drawings and everything.
Yeah, it was the Trump conundrum.
Yeah,
it's just the guy is too surreal to like you can't make fun of him. It's just he is a satire.
Yeah,
you can't. He brought an actual drawing of a bomb,
exactly.
like a cartoon bomb, like a coyote beep beep roadrunner coyote thingy, like not like even like a missile.
I think that is like the single most like marking like political like image that's I've ever seen. Like I've never like seen one thing and then like not been able to get it out of my head and only associate this person with that one ridiculous thing. I mean, he topped himself, right? I mean, when have you ever seen a politician stand next to a drawing, like to begin with? I mean, they don't even point to presentations or anything, let alone a drawing of a bomb, I mean.
Look, I mean, look, there are moments from Gaddafi
that,
like the UN. What was UN constitution? I don't know.
Or Jesus, or
farting in front of John Simpson.
Or I mean, the way that what's it called did the same thing. What's Nancy Pelosi like tore like Trump's speech as well, also in that like ridiculously childish way. But
yeah, so I don't know. There is a lot of shit.
I don't know. He's still unique in that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good competition, but I would agree it's out there. It's top there. It was one of some of the best content produced by this comedy show we call Politics.
Yeah. Okay, nice. Anything else? Any other news stories to mention?
Oh, I don't think so. Oh, there was this thing that I wanted. Yeah. What's her name? Aung San Suu Kyi, Myanmar court the first verdict at trial of deposed leader. Yeah, I thought nobody would remember that, so I thought I'd pick it up. No, just literally no one. It's like even less remembered than Afghanistan. But
But
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
no, sorry, I don't want to bury the news story. It's just that before you said that, I thought you were talking about that North Korean girl who goes around talking bad about anybody else who's trying to like fight for anything that goes against them. But then I realized, no, you're talking about Myanmar. So I was just
By the way,
laughing at myself.
no. By the way, I love the fact that we did a video about that North Korean girl about a year ago,
Yeah.
and it's still I get shit on. Like every other week, we have a comment on that video. Sam is an idiot for like defending.
But we
Yeah.
get it both ways, and it doesn't even have them in views. Sorry, every now and then I'm like, wow, this one still gets comments. It must have quite a few views.
No, because that girl, since we published that video, has gotten more notoriety, and since then she has like contradicted her story like 17 times
again,
and has completely discredited her. So I completely come out like looking like an ass. So that's why, and then people search it and probably think it's a new anyway. But
you're talking about Myanmar.
Yeah, I'm talking about Myanmar. Aung San Suu Kyi, who is one of the people who I hate the most, because she was this completely, in my view, transparent, liberal, what do you say, bottom feeder, in my view.
Well, like say the darling of the West, like they like to call.
Exactly. In Persian, they have this good saying that these fucking agents or these useful idiots, they keep in salt water, as they say in Persian, abnamek, as you know, like, you know, they keep them in salt water for a rainy day that, you know, the country is in crisis. Oh, this is the guy for liberalism and freedom, and they put her in charge, and then she turned out to be like, as soon as there was a crisis with Muslims, she started
with the Rohingyas.
Yeah,
I mean, she was part of the Rohingyas. It happened
genocide.
under her watch. You can say she doesn't have any
power. Supported it.
Exactly. Not only she didn't
did
condemn it,
then.
she pretty much condoned it. Like she was supporting it. So no, I mean, you can say maybe she didn't have that much power. Maybe with the military. Like
she did. No, look, she got deposed, so yeah, in retrospect, you could say she was controlled by the military behind the scene. But at the time, she was very happy being controlled with the military, you know. But then she got, you know, the military, you know, they were smart enough, not like the West, to be fooled by her and did it depose her before she could take full control. Because that's why do you think I don't think she was, by the way, going around thinking, oh, Muslims, I want to kill them all. But why would you condone a genocide? Because it benefits your political ambitions. But then military got wise up and they deposed her a bit about a year ago, I think. And now they're not basically, they keep postponing the court because it's like I guess they're hoping she would pass away, you know, naturally. You know, it's the easiest, best option for them. She's like 8 years old. But now Guardian, as always, like coming out, no reason for deferral given as Nobel laureate. It's again, they've gone back to the goddamn pre-Rohingya genocide.
Yeah, they forgot it, because even they were like, you know, every now and then their lies like backfire in their face in a way where they're like, even we can't say this with a straight face.
No reason for deferral given as Nobel laureate faces charges that could see her jailed for decades under military junta. No mention of the fact that she's also a genocidal maniac. Like, can you believe if Putin had done like any thing? Putin had some goddamn Chechenian super like extremist Muslims killed within a terrorist operation, and people authoritarian, you know,
or like the Chinese, or like in China.
Oh, yes.
I mean, the Rohingya, because the Rohingya it was such a clear thing, you know, like 800,000 people suddenly went into Bangladesh. There was UN all over the place. It was insanely well documented, and they had just finished praising this lady. They're like, we were just praising you for 2 years, and
we just made a movie with with that fantastic actor and David Thewlis, and about how fantastic she is, and how, which is the usual bullshit narrative of this liberal bourgeois who's like, oh, I want to do a newspaper, but I can't. Oh, so I moved to the West. Oh, just move. There are people who are hungry. You do know that, right? But I couldn't publish my weekly journal about me and my friends in university. God damn it. Anyway,
so I think
yeah,
the Guardian is rehabilitating her, maybe, but I don't think the others care.
I would. No mention of the genocide in the first, second,
and I mean, genocide
third,
wasn't committed or anything, to be completely fair, but I mean,
no, it wasn't categorized as genocide.
I mean, 800, they were trying to kill Rohingyans and, not giving them papers, and always refused to give them proper citizenship and everything.
They haven't made them for 40 years.
And no, a million of them, literally 800,000, ran away within like a week to Bangladesh.
By the way, I don't want to be glib about the use of the word genocide.
That's why I said that, because I know that you say that, but or maybe they did, but I mean, the people escaped. 800,000 people are still in Bangladesh. So in any case, and she was supporting all the actions that were going on, and they just didn't get to complete their act. Pretty much.
I was listening to Trap House, and they were talking about Bill Gates and Melinda Gates' recent divorce, and how they're, like the way the liberal bourgeoisie is covering it. And I think Felix Biederman made this great point, that this, in the mind of goddamn liberal bourgeois, there's this need for there's need this to be a hero and a villain.
Mm-hmm.
They can't frame a story like they love. Like even in a Bill and Melinda Gates divorce, there is like a good guy and a bad guy. There is a hero, and no, they're all goddamn monsters. Just like the military junta in Myanmar and Aung San Suu Kyi, they're all goddamn fucking monsters and devouring each other's. And all you should do is eat popcorn and have fun. Whenever liberals have this need to, how do I frame? Where is the hero? Who do I root for?
It prevents, I mean, first, just to let you know, Wikipedia does have a page called Rohingya Genocide, and they say Rohingya Genocide is a series of ongoing persecutions and killings. Okay, but I mean, it's however you want to qualify it, and a shitload of people escaped.
She's responsible for mass murder.
Mass murder, yeah, exactly, and
that's clear. That's clear enough.
Yeah. I was just saying that for you, even I would be fine with the term genocide. But there always needs to be a good and bad. And really, you often run into this issue when you try to be nuanced, right? Just take the Afghanistan withdrawal, right? You weren't able to put a word out if you didn't, just say only bad things about the Taliban and that the US should stay, because you had to pick the other side. It's not possible that two powerful sides are in the wrong. It's
you can't hate CIA and Taliban. You have to love one of no. Sorry, but no. But I'm out. I'm ahead of this. And exactly. It's and by the way, I hate the fact that it's has such bad negative effects on culture as well. This idea that representation is endorsement. It's the same concept, that you if you show something, there has to be. So you're I do think Sopranos you mentioned earlier, it would be hard to make Sopranos these days, because it's you're showing a bad character, you're endorsing it. It's no, it's just your goddamn mental framework that needs to have a hero in every goddamn context. Most contexts don't have heroes. It's just
and the same thing is trying to be done by many sides. It's again a hard conflict to understand in Ethiopia, right? I mean, a lot of people are trying to make, someone has to be the good guy. They're trying to find the good guy in this conflict.
If you want to have, in terms of nations or states or stuff, if you want to have a framework, in my view, the best framework is center versus periphery, or free capital versus which is usually center, usually not always, versus landed capital, which is preferred. So I mean, that's the as like if you want to have like that's as far as I can go. Like, yeah, good and bad. I'm sorry, but you're a teenager.
Yeah. All right. Very well put. Anything else?
No, but I thought, yeah, I feel like the last one was a what do they call it? Schadenfreude, the Germans call it.
Like it opened like a Pandora's box.
No. It was just then like I feel I'm just happy that somebody who I always hated is now like the media first. Now they hated her. First they loved her. Now then they hated her. Now they don't know what to do. Like,
yeah, exactly. We should keep our eyes and see if it's just the Guardian or if New York Times and stuff.
Reality is too complex.
All right, Sam, let's move on to our final segment for today's podcast. I don't even know how many hours it's been. It's been a long one, but I blame Brianna. Brianna's entertaining discussions and her guests. I believe she's the main culprit for this. But okay, so we have 3 articles for our final progressive press segment. So Sam, why don't you get us going with the article from The Atlantic? And you also send me a video that goes with it. It's the authors talking and speaking on CNN, and it's about Russiagate. So why don't you take it from here?
I just want it seems that I mean, I know loads of people have done a video similar to this, that Russiagate is not going away, and it's like, as Matt Taibbi put it, is a bit scarier than even WM days in terms of like, because they don't like care. Like there was there's signs that they may scapegoat that Russian dude. Sorry.
No. I was gonna say we made a video based on a Matt Taibbi article saying that the whitewashing era of Russiagate has begun. Now they're trying to find excuses and lay blame on X, Y, and Z. But perhaps it's a bit premature and we haven't reached that stage. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I would like imagine. I think the both processes are going at the same time, but I think in this case, the denial is stronger than. Apologies. Denial is stronger than the sort of whitewashing that is going on. And my exhibit A for that, I sent the video to you because the video was basically the
summary of the article.
Summary of the article. And like, anyway, this article called by The Atlantic, the prestigious right-wing news, the prestigious spokesperson for the U.S. establishment, is by David Frum. Do you know David Frum? I mean, now you know.
Yeah.
But he's the genius fellow, Canadian. Jewish Canadian, moved to US, I believe, studied Yale, and he was one of the group of people who was described as bringing intellectual heft to George Bush administration. And as you recall, I'm sure the intellectual heft of George Bush administration as a whole was so much that it was almost invisible to the to naked or non-naked eye. It was just too much.
So now I remember you mentioned this. He was he was a speechwriter for Bush, you said.
Yes.
And he works at The Atlantic. Isn't The Atlantic?
Now he works at that.
But isn't it supposedly like a liberal outlet that specializes in long articles? I mean, that's their characteristic. Yeah. If you want to work there, this is a short one, actually, now that I say that.
They don't do long articles. They're a magazine. But they do. I'm sure they do some shitty in-depth report. But yeah, it just shows you so much. I mean, to be honest, George Bush and stuff, they're all liberals anyway. I mean, they were liberal. They were liberal interventionist, relative to liberal institutionalist, let's say, of Democrats. But now he said he voted for Hillary and all that. He's one of the, his wife, I believe. Yeah, exactly. It's like God damn it, you're like a bottom feeder. Yeah. His wife credits him with apparently he with coming up. His wife is also a genius. Politics. It's also anyway. Credits him with coming up with the great with the sentence that possibly led to the schism that has led to a 20-year conflict between Iran and US that has led to the death of American soldiers, as well as of suffering and death of more than thousands of Iranians. The sentence "axis of evil," which basically this was after Iran helped US in Afghanistan, basically pretty much giving them all the targets, as well as giving them some very little help in Afghanistan, in Iraq as well. So in pre-Iraq invasion. But yeah, so his wife created, like, this is something they're proud of. And he has his whole shtick is that his whole shtick is the same goddamn shtick that people like Dave Rubin. He's like the more sophisticated Dave Rubin. It's just during his time there were less people to call it out, which is like, oh, I wear a suit and I speak in very, very polite, I speak as if, let me just read the title of the article from The Atlantic. It wasn't a hoax. People with scant illusions about Trump are volunteering to help him execute one of his big lies about if Donald Trump had been supported only by people who affirmatively liked him, his attack on American democracy would never have gotten as far as it did. Instead, at almost every turn, Trump was helped by people who had little liking for him as human being or politician. So, I'm wearing a suit but I have tics and I have neurosis that would make me fit completely perfectly at the, Morning Joe or somewhere. But, I'm a conservative and I'm Jewish and supporter of Israel, of course. So, yeah. And this goddamn, like, he's been wrong about everything, by the way. These were all the people who were saying that Trump is not going to even make it through Republican primary. He marshals out, and if you have some kind of, I don't know, masochism, or you really have deep self-loathing, you can, like me, read the article. But he marshals out 12 paragraphs of complete bullshit, and before marshalling them out, he says, the factual record on Trump Russia has been set forth most authoritatively by the report of the Senate Intelligence Committee, which is a complete bullshit. Like, Senate Intelligence Committee, they point to this report committee because it's done by Republicans who, they also hate Russians, they also hate Trump.
Yeah.
Anyway, then chaired by Richard Burr, a Republican from North Carolina. I'll reduce the complex details to very few agreed upon by virtually everybody outside the core Trump group, Trump propaganda group. And it points at 12 facts which nobody agrees on.
Yeah, and before you get
I'm not going to read 12 points.
Yeah, no, I know. But I think one thing he's also like trying to say is like, oh, fine, the dossier thing, the Steele dossier thing was bullshit. And I knew it was bullshit. But it doesn't mean that everything else was wrong, right? That's like kind of the route he's taking. And then he puts out these 12 points about why Russiagate could have been real. The funniest ones, maybe you should read. I love number 1. Yeah, because number 1 has nothing to do with anything. And hold on, number 1 and 11. Groups. I really like 1 and 11. We're not going to list them off. Maybe you have other ones you like.
Yeah, but I think largely are in 2 categories. Like, what does that have to do with anything? Like, everybody agrees that Trump is an asshole. Of course, yeah, we know, but that has nothing to do. Yeah. And then the second category is the facts that everybody disagrees on. Like, and then he's like, no, it's just outside of Trump support. So you love 1. You read 1.
Yeah, number 1 is dating back to at least 2006. Yeah, Trump and his companies did tens of millions of dollars of business with Russian individuals and other buyers whose profile raised the possibility of money laundering. Again, the link to Russiagate, I don't get
Like,
it.
I'm
The
sorry,
the second one links to it. In 2013, Trump's pursuit of Russian business intensified. That year, he staged Miss Universe pageant in Moscow.
Oh no, that's a different point. But
Yeah.
in the first one, he even BuzzFeed News investigation. BuzzFeed News, the people who everybody said we're not gonna touch the steel doors here, but BuzzFeed went, yeah, sure.
Oh, true. And then they're
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, but I love the fact that I'm sorry, but can you, like, this is again Chapo Trap House guys' point is, any real estate house person in New York or in any major city, what do you think they did? And but with, like, I'm sorry, but Clintons, they didn't have tens of millions of dollars with brush. Like, who, like, if you were in business, international business, I'm sorry, but you did some deals with the Russians. That's like, and by the way, it's as UK... if Russia, by the way, Russian people, you do know that Russian people are all part of a hive mind. You do know that, right? It's not like, right, there is no individuality among Russian people. They are all part of a hive mind, and at top is Putin. And Putin, you do a business with a Russian billionaire, Putin is like, it's like, did you see the Dune, the Mentat? His eyes just goes like that, and he gets in for, what the hell? It's just, in my view, it's almost xenophobic. But yeah,
exactly. Bring it all that. I know, and I mean, if only they knew what goes on in the UK and stuff, like their beloved, ally. Like there's like the Russians who like literally own like the biggest football club, and I'm sure it's all about
half of the parliament
getting legitimacy of his money and stuff. I mean, if they only knew the level, or their other, or a bunch of other allies of theirs in the Middle East, though I name some countries where Russians are also very much welcome now. So I mean,
Matt, according to like the CIA sources, I think it was Vicky, I don't know, like pretty much Italy is owned by Russians. Like they own all the politicians. And it's still like the idea that all Russian billionaires are all part of one entity, or or by the way, when a lot of times when these guys say Russians, they mean anybody from former Soviet republics. Like if you're Lithuanian, Latvian, Estonian, all of this is counted as Russians when it's necessarily, by the way. When it's not necessarily, suddenly you're a freedom fighter. But
and this, I mean, and in this article, I mean, he does a lot of things that, they don't do. Like, okay, they point something, but then they don't say why this would support or link that. So again, trying to show the collaboration, point number 11, between Russians and Trump, like alleged collaboration, whatever. He says, at crucial moments in the 2016 election, Trump publicly took positions that broke with past Republican policy and served no apparent domestic political purpose, such as scoffing at NATO, support for Estonia. I mean, I'm sorry, going after NATO was very beneficial for him. That was part of his domestic political thing of not wasting money. So I don't know, he can't even interpret that, or unless I'm wrong. But I love how that point has not even anything to do with Russians.
No, Brexit, same with the Brexit.
Yeah.
I mean, look, he would say, all of this, he's creating this unity among a camp that is against, like, because they see Russia, like NATO was created to fight Warsaw Pact, not even goddamn Soviet Union, Warsaw Pact, which was bigger than Soviet Union. And like Russia has nothing to do with Soviet Union or Warsaw Pact. But I would say that, this is, by the way, like scoffing at NATO and like complaining about Germany. Not like this has been again, it just shows that just the level of, like, US presidents have all been, because US presidents have a personal mandate. They're answerable to people. They're not as answerable to the party, like Congress people or Senate and all that, right? So there is always that tension between a president. It's always pretty much been there since Eisenhower. The presidents kind of going for a more détente sort of thing, while the Congress and Senate are a bit more towards more hawkish stance because of the the way the first past the post system, gerrymandering, all of that. So it's, yeah, the level of analysis is just,
yeah. And
I mean, he's a propaganda. I mean, I hate that word because I think I'm a propagandist, but he's just such a shitty one. He's just shitty at it. But yeah, sorry, go.
No, I was just going to say I did obviously pick the two funniest points. So, I mean, like maybe one of them has more value that you can argue if someone wants to go read it. But then he also has the typical things with WikiLeaks and all this. So I don't even know. I mean, maybe sure, if you read them, I'm trying to have fun with this article. I did mention it's the two funniest ones. But sure, maybe one of his 12 points would be, more defendable than the two that I pointed out. Then at the end, he has probably the funniest paragraph, though, which just shows how full of himself he is. I won't say.
Oh, no. He's the most. Yeah, he's a. I just want to point out from the other category of points he makes, the disputed ones. That is, I'm just going to put out some facts that everybody agrees on. One was number 10. In March 2016, the Trump campaign accepted the unpaid services of Paul Manafort, deeply beholden to deeply shady Russian business and political figures. Paul Manafort, famously the lobbyist for tortures, was not beholden to. That's what I wanted to say about why did I say that, everybody's a Russian if they come from former. So he was beholden to Ukrainian. He was a lobbyist for Ukrainian guys. He was the lobbyist the Americans put in charge. He was famous for lobbying for the guys Americans supported in Eastern Europe, not just Russians. In fact, the reason he went, and I think he's still in jail, was his activities for them, not for Trump. God damn. I mean, just anyway. And number 8, which is just slander. I think he can get sued for this. Through its ally Roger Stone, the Trump campaign team assiduously, I don't know how
assiduously, but yeah, I wouldn't be able to say it if I was just reading. Yeah.
Assiduously is like hardcore. Is that what that means?
True,
like very
good question.
very hardcorely. I don't know. I mean, this like
with great care and perseverance.
Big words.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, with the strong-willedly. I mean, big man using big words. Try to communicate with WikiLeaks before, like, period, right? So he's just stating facts, right? Yeah. So this is that's wanted to point out from the other categories of his genius, right? I mean, if there was any, by the way, people who believe in karma, if there was any karma in this world, this man would not be able to get a job as a toilet cleaner. But he's working on the Atlantic.
Yeah, and here's the last point of showing how full of himself he is. I mean, I had underlined this paragraph. I mean, so he's talking about, again, Russiagate, of course. He wrote, quote, "Not every journalist has to work on every story. Smaller abuses and lesser failures also demand attention alongside the greatest abuses and larger failures." Abuses and larger failures. But if you choose, as a journalist or a consumer of journalism, to focus on smaller issues, you need to retain your perspective about what is bigger and what is smaller. So on top of that, he has the audacity to come and say that, what I'm writing and reading, this is extremely important. If you like to do other stuff, sure, but mention that you're not important, but I'm covering the most important story.
Big picture issue.
Based on these 12 points, which one of them relies on Trump running Miss Universe and him doing business with Russians.
Trying to run Miss Universe.
Well, I mean, and the Russian,
Oh man, it's just this guy is specifically, I really find this guy detestable, David Frum, because he did also go to Yale. And Yale, again, as I mentioned, Yale is for people who goddamn run the world or own the world. They're not like you're like, even for it, so, like, you're such a bottom feeder. Like, goddamn you, like, just put somebody who I feel like buys their own bullshit. And the worst thing is this he generates this respectability. And during Thanksgiving, he was like tweeting about how funny it is, his turkey he's gonna cut and all that. And this is somebody who has literal blood. Like, I don't know, like, God, what was it? Lady Macbeth had like what was sort of in a second degree kind of a responsible for murder of a couple of people who were also mass murderers, just like Macbeth, right? And she was like haunted by it, couldn't wash her hands for a couple of years and all that. And these guys have just like finished off like just mass murdering like a couple of cities in Middle East.
Yeah.
And now they're complete, like they're tweeting about turkeys and everybody's like, oh, how cool.
Completely rehabilitated. I mean, they probably don't even associate that past of his is gone, you know? It's like, it doesn't even exist.
Yeah. I can't believe people have forgotten the axis of evil thing, because it was just such a
cool 100%.
But, but then again, George Bush is rehab. So
exactly.
Dick Cheney, I mean, Cheney, not really, but his daughter, Liz Cheney.
She's okay. But I mean,
Dick Cheney is difficult to.
Bush went as far as being defended by what's her name? That TV host. No, I forgot.
Rachel.
Ellen DeGeneres.
Not defended, man. Michelle Obama hugged.
All right, let's keep this party moving, Sam. The next article I sent you is by The Guardian. It just I got interested. I just found it interesting because I didn't know that Lego was from Denmark. But let me just read this story so we don't. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that, people. My headphones died. But yes, Sam, let me just read the one or two paragraphs so we don't bury the lead of this story. So Lego gives its 20,000 employees 3 days extra holiday. Not bad. After profits rise 140%. Pandemic lockdowns and continued expansion in China helped the Danish company to continue building its global toy empire. So Lego, the world's largest toy maker, has awarded its 20,000 employees 3 extra days of holiday and a special bonus after a year of bumper revenues. I wonder how much they gave to who and everyone. So the success of pandemic-forced lockdown has seen demand for Lego's signature plastic bricks soar alongside the rapid expansion in China. The family group, which is not listed on any stock exchange, reported a net profit of nearly $950 million for the first half of 2021, just profits, an increase of 140% on the same period in 2020. Revenues shot up 46% to 23 billion kronor, that's in Danish, in the same period. And one more fact right here. Go ahead.
No, just want to say, I think that they're equivalent of euros, I think 1-to-1.
No, it's 6-to-1. If I take, no, it's not, because I'm looking at this other figure that they gave. And finally, in this last paragraph, the group opened more than 60 new branded stores in the first half of 2021, with more than 40 of them being in China. This brings the total number of Lego retail stores as of 30th of June to 737, with 291 of those located in China. So wow, nearly a third of their stores. So yeah, good luck boycotting China for getting a business there. But yeah, so they gave their workers 3 extra days of holidays, which is not so bad. And I'm guessing in some Scandinavian countries,
basic 3 days per year.
3 extra days of holiday. I would assume it's per year. Or maybe they just did it this year, or maybe they'll remove it. I don't know. And they've also sent some kind of bonus check. But I mean, their profits have more than doubled. So I guess they had to. But yeah, I didn't know that Lego were Danish. And they're also family owned.
Oh yeah, I did know I definitely knew they're Danish. They have a city within Copenhagen, like they made the whole Europe or something out of Lego and all that. But I did know just because I know I feel my love of Britain should come to play here. But it's a kind of a stolen idea.
Yeah, no, tell me about that.
Not a stolen, but the guy who came up with the idea was this British guy, I think, Hilary Page or something. he came up with self-building blocks or something. Like they didn't call them Lego, and they bought. I don't know if let me check if Lego bought it, or he didn't patent the thing.
Yeah, I guess they must have patented heavily if no American corporation has taken over since.
Yeah. What have been described as Orient. Oh yeah, and the Kittycraft. It was called the Kittycraft self-locking building bricks. and yeah, it's not a good name.
Yeah, it kind of goes to my slogan name. But yeah, in any case, I mean, at first I was, of course, attracted, drawn by the fact that they're giving extra holidays, and even if it's a little bonus check, you don't hear these things often.
Yeah, they did stole it. It seems it's like, according to Wikipedia, Ole Kirk Christensen and his son became aware of Kittycraft bricks after examining a sample and possibly drawings given to them by a British supplier of the first injection molding machines, realizing their potential, blah blah blah. So yeah, so it was a British invention, English.
Interesting.
So yes.
Interesting, but
I just wanted to point that out.
But interesting, and I guess the last thing that you could say about this that's kind of interesting, you kind of think about only digital businesses having benefited big during this pandemic, but I guess some other businesses also, they had a nice business model or business activity that lined up well with pandemic and lockdowns and all this.
Do you like?
I liked very little, and man, these prices of these. Let me read you another paragraph. Top performing themes included Lego City, Lego Star Wars, blah, blah, blah. And also a 9,090 piece model of the doomed ship RMS Titanic, which retails for $629. So, I mean, these are not some cheap ass Lego toys you see.
Man, Lego is super. I mean, I recently, because of my nephew, I had to buy it because it's so expensive.
Just listen to me. Just get your nephew a ball and that's it. That's all he needs. Just get him a ball and some shoes.
He agrees. And yeah, I'm not a fan of Lego, I must say. I've never, as a kid, not a fan of Lego, as in, I'm not a fan of their politics, Lego. No, I just, as a child, I never liked I don't like the faces. I don't like how I like it to be a bit more, I like the action figures.
I see. I never really played with toys too much, although I did play with Legos a little bit. And I played with action figures until I was like 7, like almost 8, but then I didn't like suddenly I couldn't like touch them or look at them. Like I couldn't care less. I remember I used to take them to school up until 3rd grade. And then like that was it.
9. No, I still play with them, to be fair. So yeah, it's my mistake. But no, Lego was just too. At first of all, as a kid, I was like, "What is this watch you're giving me home?" Like, it was like puzzles. I hated when they gave you puzzles for birthday or.
No, I hated when people gave you clothes. I mean, that is the ultimate.
That's worse. That's
like slap in the face as a kid. Like, don't give me anything. That was the worst. But honestly, anything besides a remote control car, I had no interest. If you were giving me.
No, I hate cars. I like small cars, like again, I would prefer clothes to puzzles. Puzzles are, I would say, like the puzzles that you like. What is like? At least get me a paint. Or something.
I mean, at least to puzzles defense, at least while you have the packaging still wrapped, you're unsure of what's in there unless you shake it. But the clothing one, you can spot it from a mile away. It's a soft piece of shit.
Like it can be good T-shirts or something.
I don't think as a kid
like if there's Batman or something.
True. Maybe if they got me a football jersey or something. But
see.
But all right, let's keep this party moving, Sam.
Yeah.
What's our last piece, the Jacobin? So you didn't let me read this one. You told me I bid you. It's all you.
Yeah, it's a article. It's a great article by Luke Savage. And it was, I mean, there was not much spoilers in it, but still I thought it's better if you watch the show first. And I think it's a good segue to our next section. But the article is called "Capitalism is Making Us All Miserable, Even the Super Rich." And the article is based on another column by The Guardian. Let me just read this quote. Last week, The Guardian ran a column entitled "I'm a therapist to the super rich. They are as miserable as Succession makes out." At face value, the piece is pure clickbait, a textbook example of a kind of headline that tends to drive traffic in social media economy that thrives on provocation. And sure enough, it's been greeted by an all too predictable deluge of comments expressing mixture of Schwan, the word I was looking for, Schadenfreude, and lack of sympathy for exorbitantly wealthy, let 1,000 quote tweets bloom. But it's a great article about the fact that how capitalism, I suppose, or how the conditions that we are living in is alienates everybody, and that alienation, whether you're on top or you're on the bottom, leads to being miserable. So, I thought it was a great, very interesting article, and another reason why everybody should watch Succession immediately.
I want to watch Succession so bad, and I leave, most shows I just watch with my wife, so we have something to do
Your wife will love this.
I showed her a trailer and she said no, and I'm like, I don't understand.
I'm sure she will love this.
I'm sure she watches everything, she likes everything bad and good, so I just need to push her again.
No, all right, I didn't know about that, but
no. But I'm sure she would like this too, but yeah.
And it's got it's so good because they had two of the most politically woke, I suppose, or amazing, like Brian Cox and James Cromwell are both in it, and they're two like Brian Cox he's major lefty in the UK. I remember, I think on Question Time or something, he couldn't even bring to say the name Tony Blair. He was like, that's that killer murderer. I love him. And yeah, he's just I love him for being a fantastic actor, as well as, and he plays bad guys so well, like James Cromwell again.
No, I think you've honestly sold me so well on this show that I might do the thing that I never do, which is start a new show even by myself, because
wow,
I don't even do it, but I've been wanting to watch, and I showed her the trailer and she's like, no. I was like, come on.
Right. It's the closest show to reality, I think, now.
I think I have to bring the show again. My sister's here too now. Maybe I can also use her as an angle. I just have to get them going. But then they can't be into it too much, because I like to watch 1 or 2 episodes per day. And they'll suddenly binge 6 episodes. Then I fall behind. That's every show on Netflix that you mentioned right now, I've heard of them. I've seen 30 minutes of them, but that's it.
That's HBO. That's not Netflix.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying in general, everything on Netflix, because they watch everything. So I see 5 minutes of it, but
that's the thing, that it's like Netflix stuff. I completely understand getting tired after 2-3 episodes, because there's so much fat there. There's always with Netflix and on Amazon even, you can get rid of, I think, 1 or 2 episodes per season. But this show is just pure meat, and pure lean meat, and it's so good. But yeah, I mean, I must say, I am with your wife and sister. I hate people who watch 2 episodes and they're too tired. God damn it, it's just 9 episodes. Let's watch.
No, but then it also lasts longer. I don't know. I mean, sometimes if I'm really into them, sure. But if not, I think 2 or 3 and just take it easy.
I'm sorry, but to plan your day, okay?
So that's the other issue. I have to hit the sweet spot. But no, I definitely want to check it out. But nice, good. So the article is pretty much just on that, right? Just talking about how
rich I don't
people are also
it for anyone. It's about the ways. I mean, I think it's a very interesting take about how capitalism. I would say, I think I don't think it's, I mean, not capitalism in a sense that Marx was talking about, like as in capitalism
Yeah, I got
as
you.
a system, post feudalism system. I just think civilization's doing that. Like, as in civilization, I don't mean anything positive. Uh, so I would maybe be a bit disagree there with the author, but it was a fascinating, like as it just how word works and all
Yeah.
that. I highly suggest reading it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't read the article, but also for me, like that term capitalism there, I could be like, maybe in aristocratic world it would have been, or in feudalism world, it could have been the same thing and people wouldn't be happy. And just last thing, it just kind of reminds me of this study and this fact, and I've never seen this study, but this fact is thrown around everywhere about how people making above $70,000 per year or something are not more happier. It doesn't raise your happiness. It kind of reminded me of that, but it's one of those mythical studies that everyone's heard about a lot. I would like to go see it. Actually, I was just thinking of that.
The unicorn of a study, and everybody talks about it, but nobody has actually ever read
I mean,
it.
so
It's like
that
it's like the bell curve, man.
it's mentioned everywhere. It's
this.
mentioned in shows, in movie. Like that person should have won a Nobel Peace Prize if that study is real, because it's just mentioned everywhere. I'm sure it is.
If they had a Nobel Peace Prize for practical use, practical reference.
Seriously,
Yeah,
because it's
no,
used everywhere.
No, I definitely agree with you there. But yeah, I wouldn't ruin the article. It's relatively, it's longer than the David Fromm one for sure. But yeah, it's a good one. I really enjoyed it. Yeah,
Nice
take a
stuff.
look.
Good.
I
And
just
so
think if I say something bad, I should say something positive as well. You know.
and I think you wanted to use this article also to kind of segue to our last segment of kind of mentioning what we watched this week and what we're looking forward to. We often want to do this towards the end of our podcast and we forget.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, exactly. Succession. I think the last episode just came out yesterday. I'm looking forward to watching it tonight, hopefully. So, and I started watching the QAnon documentary from a couple of years ago, from a year
from a
ago.
few
Sorry.
years ago. Okay.
No, from a year ago.
Yeah.
Sorry, from when Trump. It's after the July 6th thingy because that's part of the documentary.
Oh, okay. So just earlier on this year.
Q into the storm. And man, it's so good.
But yeah,
It's
what kind of good though? What do you mean? Like it's funny or?
I've only seen 3 episodes. It's
like the characters, they say ridiculous things, or
it's more substantive than Tiger King, but it does have that
okay.
character saying like there's Jim Watkins guy and Jim Watkins and Rod Watkins characters who run this website that this whole thing goes on. And yeah, and then Roger Stone, and
it's a documentary, you said, or it's like a reenactment?
No, it's a documentary.
Okay.
It's there, and but it's. I think I've only seen 3 episodes, so I don't know what are the conclusions of the author because it does have a bit of a thesis, I think. But I think no, I think it's very substantive in my view, in the way, like if you're interested in how cults and religions and ideologies are formed, I think it's a great one. And again, as like I constantly reference them, but Chapo Trap House guys, I think Matt Kreisman does the best analysis of the whole Q phenomenon or whatever. And this documentary, in my view, to a huge extent, sort of, it goes into very interesting details. And in a way, it's so funny. And at the same time, it's so sad because first of all, liberals got beaten by these guys. And you're like, Jesus Christ. Like, they're jokes. They're worse than, they're like scary jokes. And then you realize, shit, the left got beaten by liberals who got beaten by these guys.
Jesus, okay.
And you're like, fuck. Like, it's like that scene in Trainspotting where he says, English aren't bankers. We are the bankers because we got colonized by bankers. It's like, Jesus, we got like defeated like twice over. And but it's fast. In my view, it's just if you're interested in how ideologies develop, because people have a lot of people, I think it's very good at demystifying how ideologies and come about, in my view, and all that stuff. So and it is very funny in a sense that you have these completely deluded people, like completely self-deluded like Jim Watkins, and in a way, in some ways, probably evil, possibly, and so strange, like, I don't get them. I really don't get them. Like, it's just very, very interesting.
Interesting. I'll probably watch at least an episode or two so we can have a little
I like to
conversation
do
about
a
it.
review of them.
Yeah. Good. Nice. Sounds good. And on my side, I would just mention to you that a new episode of the Elizabeth Holmes podcast is out, The Dropout. And I'm kind of excited to see this because her defense team, she decided to put her on the stand last Friday. And so the previous episode that came out didn't include her cross-examination. So I'm curious to see what prosecutors asked her. So if it's a juicy episode, I'll make a video on it hopefully by the end of the week of what this crazy lady did again for us by doing something. Well, they're in the court. Are they
allowed to play recordings?
No, but they're in the court, so they listen to everything. So no, I'm trying to think. No, they don't play recordings. But I was reading the articles that you see online. Don't cover anything. So really, their podcast I found is the one that covers most what was said. So yeah, I'm curious to see where that went and how it went for her. So I'll hopefully make a video.
90% of her appeal is the, I was trying to get funding for So it's a shame that at least they should do a podcast with it or something.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're not allowed to record, right? I guess you're not allowed to record audio or film in courtrooms. I don't know, because that's why they
I
draw.
Think audio may. I think it depends on the court, and it depends on. I know Supreme Court for sure you're not allowed, but I don't know. Yeah, it's a shame though. It's a big shame that we are missing out on this comedy show.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be more stuff made on it.
There is the Ghislaine Maxwell thing is also started.
Oh yeah. I mean, that one's just not as, you can't laugh at it as much as this one because it involved molesting children and all this for decades. The Elizabeth Holmes really lends itself to more of a chilled kind of take.
I mean, but look, I think the other one you can laugh as much as well, but it's more, it's a different type of laugh.
It gets darker, I would say.
It's like Russian comedy compared to a slapstick comedy that is Rittenhouse. But it's like Google or something. But
and sorry, before wrapping it up, earlier on when I told you that the cases against her are only her defrauding investors, apparently in the 11 cases against her, some of them are her defrauding investors and some are lying to doctors and patients, I believe. Just wanted to tell you that because I made a mistake, but again, don't quote me on that. I have to double check some more. But okay, that's it, Sam. I think we probably recorded one of our longer podcasts. And any final words? Your eyes okay? Your eyes giving out?
This one is gone dry. It's anyway.
Right. Well, people, please like and subscribe. Really. We might need some donations for Sam's eye operation.
Eye surgery.
So we'll start a Patreon if that's the case. But if not, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.
I don't have healthcare.
He doesn't have healthcare, so please do. And leave all your comments, questions, criticisms, all that good stuff down below, and we'll make sure to get to them. If not, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. And we'll see you in our next video. Thank you.